Hi there guys, good morning and welcome back to day 2 of the UK National Championship for Final Fantasy Trading Card Game. We are here at the NEC, the UK Games Expo. My name is Joe.
I'm Lucas, pleased to meet you all again.
And hopefully you guys were here yesterday as well. We went through 7 rounds of Swiss and we are now cut to our top 8. We've already been through our top 16 and we can tell you what the various decks that are in the top 16 are, and we had cut off at the top 16.
Yeah, so last night we played the top 16, so today onwards every competitor has qualified for Euros. So I can tell you the top 8, we have 5 mono ice, we have 1 wind water, 1 mono water and 1 mono lightning. And the decks that were knocked out yesterday, we had another 2 water wind, 2 mono water, 1 wind lightning, 2 mono ice, and another, it looks like a multicolored deck. It looks like lightning, wind, earth.
Yes, so I think we had that one featured on stream yesterday, in fact. So it looks like mono ice has been very, very popular today, over the weekend. Why do you think perhaps that might be?
I think it's the consistency they have. They have the 6 package, they have 2 searches in their deck, which does exactly what it wants to do. You've got another powerhouse orphan in the last set, which again allows them to push for ball presence, allowing you to down freeze 2 forwards your opponent controls, and allows you to swing. And all the cards have a really good synergy with each other, which I think is what the kind of deck needs.
Ice was one of the more popular colours that were featured throughout the day as well, so I think that there is an element of law of averages, and that if a deck is that popular, then obviously a lot of them are going to go break through the mold. And then mono water was obviously very popular as well.
Yeah, mono water is probably the other most consistent deck. It's able to absorb damage early on, so you can then recue your backups and then just kind of go in later on. You don't mind taking a couple of points of damage early on if you can get your backups down, and then you're not overpaying for stuff forwards. And being able to just have battle tricks now with Bismarck and other cards like Ophidian, you're able to compete with the higher up decks, which is something that Mono Water didn't really have in the earlier sets.
I think the thing I like about Mono Water is that it's not set in stone. Where Mono Ice, a lot of the cards in ice decks tend to be quite similar. Like if you come up against an ice deck, you can expect to see, as you say, like the 6 package. You can expect to see Genesis, Orphan. Whereas with Water, it's a lot more variable. You get like the 9 builds, the monster builds, the Ash builds.
Yeah, the most popular build at the moment seems to be the Mono Water Monsters build. So for those that don't know, it's pretty much you're basically chucking in a ton of monsters like Schrodinger, Tom Breeze, and I think it's Green Dragon, and you use Legendary Kefka to then put them into the break zone and to pop it forward, and then you use cards like Schrodinger to then possibly get those cards back from the graveyard, so the break zone, and stuff like Cleone.
Yeah, Cleone is very important.
It allows you to then draw a card when it's put to the break zone. So if you're dropping out for Kefka, you're then drawing cards off it. So you're accruing resources just from getting it forward, and you're making your opponent lose it forward as well. It's probably not the most consistent deck in the top cut, because I think once people play it, they learn how to play around it instantly. But in Swiss, it's very devastating.
Yeah, it's definitely.
But I believe it actually won the Toronto Cup, the Toronto Crystal Cup.
It's been doing very well in general for quite some time. But I mean, our top, sort of the top of Swiss, actually was none of those decks yesterday. It was Mono Lightning, which is a deck that's still popular, but it's kind of waned in its popularity over the past set or two. But it goes to show that we'll be having the Mono Lightning deck on stream very, very shortly, as our top 8 round does contain it. And it's been piloted by Peter Chan for a very long time, and he's known that deck very, very well. So it'll be really, really interesting to see how he does in top 8.
I like that you can tweak a deck for months and months, and you are so confident in it. It may not be the best deck in the format, but you are so confident in your ability with it that you will go on with it and you will absolutely smash it. Like we said, Peter is currently EXO.
Yeah.
He is qualified for Euros. If he continues to streak on, he's going to Worlds.
Yeah, well, I think he's got a good chance of taking the whole thing, because I imagine with Ice being as popular as it is, and yet he's kind of beating all of that back, and he's still sitting quite happy at X and O. He's beaten his top 16 opponent, and now we've got to top 8. He's in with a good chance, and I think that it's really nice that we've got such a variety of new blood mixed in with players that are well known. It's really, really nice.
I think that's the thing as well, is Peter has a lot of well-known players as friends. Like he's got Joshua Freeman Birch, he's got Jamie Faulkner, and we've just been told we can go over to the feature match now.
Excellent. So let's go and have a look at what we've got here. So as we said, we've got Peter Chan with his Mono Lightning deck, and he's facing off against Peter Sharat, who has Mono Ice.
Yeah.
But I mean, having looked at some of the deck lists, some of the plays in Peter's ice deck might be slightly different to some of the ones that you've seen already.
Yeah, it looked like he's going for like a heavy discard, but he's also kind of got the stall tactic with an Arcanist.
I mean, I think Zaid is one that it's like people seem to and ah about it a lot, and I know that Zaid is in Peter's deck.
Yeah,
so
Zaid
it's
is
one of those cards that is
ones.
just like a real powerhouse, and it pushes through.
It's I believe Zaid, off the top of my head, when he is received damage from an opponent, they are forced to discard a card.
That's correct.
When Zaid is dealt damage by a character, character's controller discards a card from their hand, and he also has the ability to pump himself up. So in a mono ice deck, that's a 10k forward, which is basically forcing your opponent to discard. It's kind of like Capricious Reaper yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I find with Zaid is that his power gain can be as big as he wants. You know, he can if he is attacking or blocking, if he's there, your opponent has to figure out a way to get around it. And with Ice having quite so much in the way of summon cancellation or like lockdown, it's just kind of like a finishing move. And I think that's something that Ice really needs.
I believe this card is going to be a game changer for Peter against Pete because Lightning likes to do chip damage. Like the Alcid combo, and we've seen Argath come down, so that's going to force Pete Chan to discard a card from his hand.
So we're starting up by discarding 7-drop Odin. It's never a bad card to discard at the beginning because you're not going to run it anytime. You're not going to play it anytime soon.
Most of the time, it's only in there just for the EX burst. You want to put it forward, and it's just going to become CP fodder realistically.
Absolutely. Also, the sleeves are really, really nice.
They are very nice. So early on, Peter's kind of got the advantage already. He's forced Pete to discard a card, and he's got a forward on board.
So Idea is being discarded. It's nice to see that Idea is still seeing a lot of play because she is still a very good card. And then Alphinord, which is one of the FF14 scions.
Yeah, you probably know a bit more than I do.
Yeah, I know. I've played my fair share of 14, and I love Alphinord as a character. It's really interesting. So having him in a deck alongside Louis Soir, which is his grandfather, who searches for him, is interesting because Alphinord in a deck like this, it starts the chip damage because a lot of Lightning's cards have to require your opponent's force to be damaged before you can actually do more damage to them. So like Ramu or Onion Knight.
And then you've got stuff like Orlando and Black Mage, but they break a damage forward. So if you're able to just put ping 1 CP to ping a forward and then play Orlando, you've immensely got value out of that combo.
Although it looks like Peter's like going pretty ham right now. Like
he's gone very heavy on the offense. He's got a damage in, and he's made Pete Chan a discard already. And that looks like a Zalera.
That's an Exodus, which is a very, very good pick at the moment.
Of course, it's not Zalera. Pete isn't playing mono ice.
Yeah, Exodus is a very, very strong pick at the moment because monocolor decks struggle with Camlanaut quite badly. Camlanaut being the FF11 Dark Forward that can make himself immune to any color at the beginning of each turn.
It looks like Pete just discarded the Raiden. Sorry, it looked like he paid for the Raiden and then he's just discarded it off the damage.
Right.
I believe.
Okay, so he's happy to take another point of damage.
It wasn't damage. Okay, he actually
he's happy to take another point of damage in the following turn because he's not played a forward.
Yeah, he actually used Alphinoid to ping the Thermitage. Mm-hmm. So that's Twilight Odin, I believe.
It's another very, very interesting card because it's not one that's very commonly played, but when it is played to a high level, it can put in a lot of work very quickly.
I believe this was the card that you had given to you.
Yeah, no, it was a spoiler I had before Opus 6 came out, and I did like it then, although I'm not really a Lightning player.
So we see Stellar's come down, it's going to freeze one of Pete Chan's backups to
slow him down a bit.
Peter is very, very aggressive with this. I don't think he cares about playing any kind of backup. He knows that if he can get forwards down, and he's going to be playing on the back foot.
It's an interesting dynamic because Ice is obviously usually wanting to try and get backups down quickly so that it can at least kind of keep up its own pressure.
Yeah.
But with a heavy discard variant like this, you're kind of mitigating the amount of advantage that his opponent can make while still pushing the game forward. However, this will only last for so long because if he keeps with having very few or no backups, then Pete could end up like accumulating a ton of backups and then not having to worry too much about paying for things, and discard will lose a lot of its impact.
So you see a Lua come down. Lua's got haste and has a really annoying ability, I believe. When she's chosen by your opponent, some of her ability for the first time, you cancel it. And so he's gone in for the attack, and he's probably going to try and force out the seller's block. Does he have? He has.
There's another.
So they're going to be trading. So she'll activate all the forward you control. Again, haste until the end of the turn. all four of your opponent controls loses 2k. So he wanted to force a trade. It's probably the right play there. He's still going to be taking the point of damage again.
Again, I think it's like trying to control the amount that Peter has right now in terms of forward presence is probably the right move to make. Yes, you're going to take some damage in the process. Unfortunately, we can't see what damage that was just taken. But he's going to take some damage in the process, but if he can kind of equalise what he has, then it's going to allow him to pull the game back very, very quickly.
You see Opus 2 Jill come down, and I think it's now going to get to the point where Peter realises he needs to stabilise his backups. And then Zemus has played off Pete Chan's side, and it's just passed.
Zemus, if that's not dealt with very, very quickly, is going to cause a lot of problems for Peter, because that's going to. We already know that Illawa is in the break zone, so we can pull that back at any time. If there's any 2 CP cards that he's discarded, then he can pull those back without actually having to discard anything at all.
Yeah, so Zemus, you can play X amount of CP and dull himself, and you get to revive a character in your break zone. A lightning forward in your break zone. And you basically revive it, but you can only do it during the main phase. So again, to your point, you're probably trying to revive the Illawa just so it can get a haste attack in.
It's all about the grind game. This is very, very much a grindy based game. So obviously with Ice trying to take out Lightning's hand and trying to push it to a point where it has no resources, a card like Zemus literally flies straight in the face of that and says, no, I'm going to get them back.
And that's when Ice tactics will then tend to change, because they will want to try and lock Zemus down permanently to then mitigate the discard.
But I think the early aggro has made it so that's a lot more difficult than it could have been.
Peter is now behind on advantage. He's got a very small forward. He has to play another one, which is Sarah, which is going to discard the last card, which is an Alcid. Which, if you're Pete, you've got Zemus on the field, not that fussed about losing Alcid.
So it looks like Zemus is going to be active this turn, so I would imagine that it will probably get used, because the more that Zemus pulls back, the more he pays for himself.
Yeah.
Because you can not use up your hand, and you can literally, as I said, fly in the face of what Ice is trying to do to you.
Yeah, realistically, like you said, if he's got any 2-drops, he can make the 2-drop and use the red mage he's got as a backup to give that 2-drop haste. So he's immediately getting value off the forward he's bringing in. But I can only imagine he would probably want to try and get that Illawa in. Or maybe try
just
and play
to
Illawa.
stop, I mean, Illawa, it would be an interesting choice at the moment, purely on the back of the fact that because it's so difficult to target, and Ice's, shenanigans with dulling and freezing work significantly less well on her, it would be interesting to see Illawa be pulled back, but I would imagine that Zemus will be used at least in some fashion. He can pull back a 4 CP. I'm fairly sure I saw an Ammon in Pete's spin.
Yeah, I did.
So I think that that would be a viable option as well. 4 CP.
There's the Alcid. Okay, so he's not even using it to get a forward out, he just wants to kill Sarah so he knows he can.
However, you have to be able to get a forward out with Alcid in order to be able to deal that damage.
Yeah, to be fair, he does have a card in hand. Okay, I see he's actually trying to force... so Peter's played the Glacier to try and discard a card out of Pete's hand.
Which will nullify the Alcid.
Yes.
There's Black Bolts 3, that's unfortunate, because that would have been a very, very strong play. It would have really swung things into his favour. However, I mean, the Zemus is still there.
Yeah.
But taking 2 points of damage is going to put him on a real back foot at this point.
It was an Alcid and a...
Was it Onion Knight and an Alcid?
Yeah.
So that's... Again, I mean, the Alcid is still in play, so unfortunately he wouldn't be able to get it back from his break zone until it dies.
But that's the thing to note as well is Pete has got the Black Hawks in the break zone. He's got another Onion Knight in the break zone. So if that Alcid dies, he can just constantly revive it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so he plays the Black Mage 2 from Opus 2, which reduces the forward your opponent controls power by 3k.
4,000.
4,000. So yeah, he targets the Argarth and that's going to kill it. And he's probably going to swing in with the Alcid.
No, I think he was right not to. I think because when you're on 5 damage to 0, you just have to play the waiting game here. Sarah isn't much of a threat on her own. However, if there's anything that's going to dull or freeze, if a Genesis comes down, he's attacked, that he's risking a lot of his health. Being on 5 damage is, you can deal with that. Being on 6 damage is critical, and it means you just have to play the waiting game. So I think it's wise to do that now.
The handy thing is as well, now because P-Chan has got that third backup up, he can actually start paying for cards for Zemus from his hand, and then start giving it haste, and have CP up as well.
I think accumulating as big a board as you can right now is probably the best play for Pete. purely because ice doesn't really have a way of like mass removal. He doesn't have access to things like Shantotto in earth, or Valifer in wind, or Cloud of Darkness in water. So I think that accumulating as big a board as you can, just to sit there and go, okay, now I'm ready for you, is probably the best tactic for Lightning to take right now, and it's very good at accumulating a lot of forwards very quickly.
So we saw the Castalian Empire Sid come down on Peter's side and searching the cellars. So as we mentioned yesterday, Castalian Empire Sid works so well with Setzer, and that's what gives the ice package its consistency. You have a backup that searches the forward, and you have a forward that searches the backup, and it's just very, very nasty. So Iridia's going to come down and ping for 3k, I believe.
And then I would imagine that Zemus will then target an Onion Knight or a Black Waltz in the grave.
Yeah, which is what it looks like.
Or a Break Zone.
Yeah, there's
an Onion Knight.
That's going to kill the Sarah, and Alcid is probably going to swing in for the first point of damage for Peter.
Zemus, I honestly believe, is an extremely powerful card. It's a card that doesn't see as much play as you'd think, but I think that because he doesn't have haste or an enter play effect, people write him off.
I will be honest, I wrote him off when I first saw it, just because I thought he was incredibly slow. But he has to become a target that first turn he's played. If you don't get rid of it that turn, it's getting you a lot of value very, very quickly. So here's what I mentioned earlier. Celes is going to come down and freeze Zemus. So Pete wants to... It obviously won't be active during Pete's next turn. And then Peter is then going to be able to try and freeze it so it will never come back up again.
Yeah, he's going to have to try and... He's going to have to keep locking it down as much as possible, because its primary source of removal, which would be something like Matthias or like actual removal, it's not going to work on Zemus, because Zemus is very rarely, if ever, going to attack.
Yeah, very, very rarely.
Or block.
The Lulu comes down, so all of Pete Chan's forwards now are bigger. So we have as a 6k Iridia, 7k Alcid, and a 7k Onion Knight. And if needs be, that Zemus can be 9k powerhouse. But again, to your point, it's probably never going to attack, it's just going to keep there reviving stuff.
Not until he's performed his duty, I wouldn't imagine.
Yes. And this is why Exodus is so good in Pete Chan's deck, is because he's got a multitude of different numbered forwards. All the costs are different. So he can call a number and the loss that he will have will be... Whereas Peter, okay, Ice don't tend to play as many of the same cost forwards. I think it's probably like Genesis and Celes are probably the
So there is a lock.
So they come down and discard a card from Pete Chan's hand, and I believe that's a Migus. So Pete Chan's not moving that fast.
Do apologise, the camera feed appears to be going just a little bit strange at the moment.
There's another Thaumaturge, and he's discarded his final copy of the Lure. Celes is coming in for an attack. Yeah, Celes is coming in for an attack. I think you're going to have to block with the Iridia. Iridia has done its job. It's a low-costed forward. It's going to be a chump blocker at this point. They don't really want to be taking that final point of damage, because it does put you right, as you said, in the critical area.
Yeah, as I say, we do apologise about the camera feed. We're going to see if we can get that sorted out for you as soon as possible.
Play passes back over to Pete Chan. And Zemus is probably going to try and get that Allure back in, because then that Allure is 7k and can trade with the lock.
Yeah.
It has haste, so it can put the pressure on really fast. To bring out.
He's got options for days.
Yeah,
he's got so many. Zemus being there just allows him so many options. And you know, going back to him, I think you are right in that he is quite slow.
Oh,
but there's a lot of stuff that he can do.
Or just bring out Nadir and just break an opponent's forward.
Absolutely.
And that immediately gets rid of the Celes, which allows, if possible, the Onion Knight and the Alcid to actually trade with the lock. I would probably attack with the Onion Knight. Realistically, it doesn't matter which one he's attacking with. It's going to get rid of one, or either a point of damage or rid of one of Peter's.
Yeah, I mean, block attacking is wise. It's difficult to say, because obviously when your opponent has that many more forwards than you can't afford to just jump in.
I don't know if I agree with the lock attacking though, just because, okay, so the Celes is coming down to going to freeze the Zemus again, because Pete can just play the Zemus again and get that idea back and just break another forward. But obviously, it will have to wait next turn at least anyway.
Absolutely.
Because of the Sellers coming in and freezing. So the Thaumaturge is going to be broken off the Alphanoid.
Alphanoid.
Yeah. And play passes back over to Peter.
I think it's important for those people who like maybe struggle with mono ice with it being so popular is to realise that it's actually very difficult for ice to outright remove a forward. It doesn't actually do it very often except through combat.
Yeah,
combat
or Sid Alstein.
Yeah, or Sid Alstein, or like Sid Rain's combo. It's rare. In comparison to other elements, it is quite rare. So if you're wanting to try and tackle mono ice, then bearing that in mind means that you can afford to play sort of slower forwards like Zemus and be able to use them effectively.
Okay, so the Sellers was coming in for an attack and he blocked with the Alcid. It's probably the correct play.
Well, it's quite likely that Zemus will be able to bring back the Alcid and then use it a second time.
Depends if Peter plays another forward. He keeps the Sellers stole. I think he might just come in, use Zemus to bring in the Adir again, get rid of the Sellers as an Edward to discard a card out of Peter's hand, and that's a Lulu. So realistically, that Lulu. I think if Seymour actually came down to break the Hammer Purge.
Mm-hmm. No, that's correct.
It would explain why more of Peachan's backups. Yeah, so he's paying 6 again to break the, which is the correct play.
It's extensive, in terms of resource management, it's quite expensive. But being able to just remove a blocker and then regain one every turn is scary.
Yeah. So I think we got the video sorted out for you, but yeah, that's probably the correct way to do. Get the Adir out. Ununited's going to be able to swing in. You know, the ice doesn't have any form of haste, so you can afford to do that.
However, I mean, Pete is still on 5 damage. It's still, Peter has everything to play for still.
Yep.
He's got that early aggro, but it does go to show that ice does have its abilities are very, very powerful early game. Yep. But as the game goes on, it starts to slow down.
So Bane comes down, it's going to lock the Adir down, so it isn't going to be standing, but it depends on how many copies of plays, because he could just death it away.
I think death requires her to dull.
No,
does it not?
Does it not? So here comes the Rigdia, and I think he's got a way of killing Orlando, which Ununited's going to swing in, and the Adir's going to be back up again next turn.
So Orlando or Thunder God Sid is like more commonly seen in like Wind Lightning decks more often than not. But I think in this deck it does just fit very, very well. While you're building around, you've got Alphinod in the deck, you've got Rigdias in the deck. I mean, dealing with damaged forwards is something that Lightning does very, very well at. Although cards like Minwoo and stuff can like really stunt your growth. Yeah,
and his special is very, very. I don't want to say unique. It's very potent in the fact that if it chooses a forward, it loses 7,000 power into the end turn, and it also activates himself as well. So he can essentially become an in the pinch blocker. Yeah. But even reducing something by 7,000, 9 times out of 10 it's going to kill it.
Yeah,
and if it doesn't, you've got the ping damage to then finish it off later on. So here comes the Emperor. And
doesn't look like he's paid the extra in order to cause Pete to discard.
No. I don't think he had to. I think it looked like Peter's only got 1 in hand. So the Emperor, when he enters the field, you can pay 1, and if you do, your opponent's forced to discard. There's death. And when your opponent draws a card outside their draw phase,
it looks like I think that's game right there.
That's 6, and that's game 1 for Peachan.
So again, going back to what I was saying, it's like the early game of Ice is so powerful. I mean, the discard was so powerful. There was just so much of it. You had Thaumaturge come down, you had Locke coming down, you had Argeth coming down, you had Sarah coming down. There's just so much of it, and then Lightning, the Lightning deck, it just had to bide its time and realise that Ice can't deal with a slower forward that can accumulate value over time.
Exactly.
Like Zemus, and Zemus was definitely the MVP of that game.
Peter was definitely putting the aggression down, but he didn't have the backups to capitalise on it. He was overpaying for stuff like Sellers. He was having to discard 2 cards out of his hand because he didn't have the backups, and that ultimately, I think, cost him the game.
Quite possibly, yeah. So getting backups down early is very, very important because it sets the precedent for what you can and can't pay for the rest of the game.
Yeah, so that's what people wanting to do. But I think it's kind of like the same kind of setup that Mono Water wants to do. You can afford to take a couple of points of damage whilst you're setting your backups, because then Lightning wants to do what Lightning wants to does, and then it just goes in.
I mean, most Mono Lightning decks are also very, very adamant about having to get to 5 backups as fast as possible for the sake of idea, if nothing else.
Yeah, and the fact that as soon as Pete got that red mage down, he then threatens any forward with haste. And that becomes a very scary tactic as well, especially with Zimmers bringing in forwards from his break zone. So this is best of 3, so obviously we don't allow sideboard for those who are new to the channel and new watching the game. So it is best of 3, so we're going to drop a link to the tutorial and where to find your local game stores. If you're interested in learning about the game, feel free to check out the links below. So if you're Peter and you're going into game 2, do you want to go first or second?
I would probably want to go. I would probably want to go first. Actually, I think the speed at which you set the tempo of your game is going to rely on your backups.
Yeah.
So I would want to get those down as soon as possible. Even if I was going first, I'd probably try to get 2 down turn 1.
Yeah, I think realistically you want to be going first anyway. So Peter's mulliganing and Pete Chan is keeping his hand. Like a tongue twister today. So yeah, Peter's deciding to go first. Peter's going first, draws his card, and yeah, we're probably going to see. I don't think this Peter actually played Harley. So
No.
And there's a Thaumaturge.
So we're starting with obviously discarding a 2-drop backup to pay for a 2-drop forward. It seems that he's trying to go for the same sort of tactic again.
And there's another Thaumaturge.
Another Thaumaturge. So I mean, he's going well in. Hopefully, I mean, it didn't work out too well in the first game. Hopefully, maybe this time it will turn things around for him. But I think it depends on what you drop out. But interestingly, Odin was one of the first things dropped again.
And Lulu. It hurts a little bit. So one of the Thaumaturges is going to die. It's the fact that Mono Lightning is probably the only deck that Thaumaturges are weak against. If it was any other deck, realistically, those Thaumaturges would stay there and get a couple points of early damaging whilst your opponent is losing cards in their hand.
Absolutely.
But the fact that...
There goes Raiden.
Yep, the fact that Pete can play a Black Mage to just flat out kill the Thaumaturge mitigates that cost.
I mean, there are a lot of things that a Lightning has that do small amounts of damage, like a Rigdia would deal with it, a Black Mage would deal with it. Although we're going very hard today. We were going with Genesis on turn 2.
Yeah, so Pete needs to answer that very, very quickly, or he's going to be taking a lot of points of damage and he's going to be losing cards from his hand.
I mean, Genesis has been a threat the entire weekend. Though I mean, the Emperor was a good shout to play there because it's bigger than Genesis is. Pete has a backup to back it up, but you have to answer Genesis straight away, otherwise you're just going to rip your hand apart.
Yeah. So Peter kind of needs to play backup here now just to stabilise, so he's not paying, because Ice do have a lot of odd costed stuff. So having that, even just having a 1 backup on the field is going to help mitigate that overpayment. And the Emperor is going to be shutting down a lot. Whilst I think Ice is one of those decks where it's 50% also ability, 50% action ability. So it's going to be shutting down half his deck, but it's also not going to be shutting down the discards.
No, nor is it going to you've still got access to your entire 6 package realistically, and there's plenty of ways to keep him down.
So we see, I believe that's a
Scholar. That's a Scholar, which most people play Scholar as a method of returning locks to your hand, as a way to be able to reuse his S Mirage die, which makes him unblockable for the turn. Though honestly, it's a backup that can break itself, that can re-add value to your hand. It's just a good card.
Yeah, at this point in the moment, it's just going to be CP because he can't break itself because of the Emperor's just sitting in the field. But I think at this point as well, the Emperor is just kind of going to be a vanilla monster, as a vanilla forward that is just going to be chump blocking the Genesis. See Zemus
There's the Zemus again.
And once again, Pete Chan is getting the forwards down, which are bigger than Peter's ice forwards, and is going to be able to get stuff from the break zone. He's going to be able to get that Allure in next turn if needs be. And once again, Zemus proving that it's... Because I stand corrected, Duke Lug has just come down on Peter's side, which now means the Genesis can trade with the Zemus and the Emperor. Yeah,
I think I agree with that.
Has to, otherwise he's going to be losing the only card left in his deck and taking another 20 damage. But if needs be, Zemus can then revive the Emperor. Oh no, sorry, no he can't because it's a lightning cord.
Before I forget as well, we do actually have another couple of Opus 6 spoilers for you today. The first of which is actually going to be after this round, and the second one, which we're saving for just before the final of the tournament, is actually going to be one of the new Legend cards in the set, so I'm really excited to bring you that.
I can tell you now, when I saw the card, I was so hyped for it.
So we've got a red mage down, so we're just kind of we're okay for forwards and stuff,
Yes,
so we're just going to
Edwards.
have to come stabilise. And now at this point, Peter actually has more backups than Pete, but that Zemus is active and it can start building building that advantage again.
So the Edwards come down on Peter's side, discarding another card, and we see you know more on that one than I do. You mentioned him earlier, it's the Granddaddy.
So Lewis Soir has come down, which allows you to search for Alphanord. The main reason people run out Lewis Soir and Alphanord, despite the fact that Lewis Soir only really searches for something quite specific, is it's very rare in this game for a backup to search for another backup.
Yes.
So, I mean, especially in Lightning where you need 5 as quickly as possible, it's actually a very powerful play.
Yeah. So we see so Lewis Soir in his field, you can search for one card named Alice or card named Alphanord. I believe Alice gives all jobs sign on door. Sign on the 7th door, and it's a tongue twister. It's first thing in the morning. Haste.
Yes, she does.
Which is very, very powerful in that deck.
So Peter's having a think about what he wants to do at the moment, because Thaumaturge has already done his job, but he can't attack with it, not really. But I mean, Thaumaturge is still really, really strong.
I believe Thaumaturge is also powered up as well, because Pete Chan has no cards in his hand, so that Thaumaturge is actually quite beefy.
It's 5,000 or 6,000 having been boosted by Dulag.
Yeah, and then also the Elgarth just coming down, discarding the backup that Pete just searched. So that's going to hurt, and Magus comes down.
Pete's playing a very dangerous game here by it's safe, but it's going to if something that starts dulling and freezing Zemus comes down, then he's going to be taking some damage, and if it's freezing Zemus, then it means that he's not going to be able to do anything with it.
There's Genesis.
Speaking of the devil, Genesis comes down and dulls and freezes Zemus, so it means that that's going to be out of action for the following turn.
Yeah.
And it means he's going to be taking a few points of damage at the same time, unless he gets some forwards in his hand to start rehabilitating the fact that he can start establishing a war presence.
Thaumaturge and the Elgarth are going to be swinging in. There's no point not to. The Genesis is going to be blocking most of what Pete's going to be playing.
So that's a Twilight Odin and an Orlando,
which is going to hurt. So the Zemus is now dulled due to not activating during his active phase. So that's 3 cards in his hand now. So the Thaumaturge is now back at 1,000 power, I believe.
Yes.
So
until Pete plays something, it'll be at 5,000.
It's another backup.
So that's an Alphanord again.
Yeah.
So he's happy to take 3 points of damage.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of damage actually. He's going to be put on 6 damage, and he's going to be losing the card out of his hand.
Though one thing that Lightning is very, very good at is using his damage to its advantage. So, for example, he has 3 copies of Edir in his deck.
Yep.
The likelihood is that we haven't seen we know he plays 7-drop Odin as well, both of which are very powerful EX bursts and will kill anything on Peter's side if they do go over.
It couldn't be the 7-drop because he hasn't got CP to play it.
No, as in if it goes into his EX, it goes into his damage.
So he's breaking the Magus to, I believe, ping the Argyle for 4,000. So
it's a Black Mage that's gone out, and we're discarding an Alcid.
And Thaumaturge for
Black Waltz 3.
So Pete's kind of mitigated the damage. So he only took 2 points of damage. Kind of lost the backup, but realistically he had to, otherwise he was pretty much dead.
Yeah. No, I actually think that Black Waltz 3 would be the best target for Zemus at this point in time, because it would be able to come in without having to drop the cards from his hand in order to kill the Thaumaturge off, and it would also be a blocker for Genesis, which would then, when it dies, it would then be able to take the Genesis out as well.
Okay, but we see the Scholar come down and he's grabbing the Thaumaturge, so he's probably going to play that, discard the last card in Pete Chan's hand,
which is also an Alcid.
Another Alcid.
And then Sid Olstein as well. Oh wow!
So
the aggro is definitely rearing its ugly head right now.
Yeah, these 2 cards are vital for Pete Chan's survival. So you Sid Olstein, when it enters the field, you choose a forward your opponent controls, and if they have no hand, you break it. And at this point in time, it's a 10k forward.
This could end up being Pete's final turn on this game.
Yeah.
It may not be. There is all to play for still. But it could end up being, because the 4 forwards is a lot to deal with when you've got none.
There's the idea, so it breaks the Genesis. It all depends if Peter can get like a Shiva or something. Because that Sid Olstein is not going to be blocked. that he can afford to not block the Sid on Alstein and take 2 points of damage off the thaumaturges. But if that Idig will be dulled this turn, it's Peter's game.
Okay, so there is an Odin. See?
Yes.
Odin Adia. It's a killer combination.
I think he should have attacked the Sid Alstein first, because at that point you don't mind. I mean, yeah, the Adia traded with the first Thaumaturge. They're both 6k because of Pete having no hand, so he traded. But I believe he should have taken the Sid attack first. But we'll have to see what happens.
So 5 CP.
As the Seymour come down.
4 CP for a Seymour. Yeah, okay.
And then the Flan on the sides. Flan searching for Flan.
So I think it is in Pete's best interest that while he's on 0 damage, he just has to keep Pete's hand away for fear of another Zemus coming down.
Yeah, so the Flan's going to be played now, and it's going to discard Pete Chan's final card, and it's going to play the other Flan for next turn, pretty much. We do see a lock in Pete's hands.
So sets have been discarded, so that's 3 CP currently. Then Sarah. So another discard.
And that was a
Ramu. Interestingly, it's the Ramu that can break a monster or forward of cost 2 or less.
And the lock comes down, so Pete, again, is on the back foot. He has to have a forward of, it's a high cost of power, so a high powered forward, in order to answer that 7k Sarah and the 8k lock. It'll be interesting to see what he can do here.
Well, I mean, he managed to get around the large board that was there last turn, but it's definitely looking a bit bleak this game for Pete.
An idea would be really good right now, but again, you'd kill the lock and it would just trade with Sarah and you're back to where you started.
Absolutely.
So, I think at this point, Pete Chan is kind of just fighting the inevitable. He's just kind of got the backups down, he's got the forwards down, he's got the discard down, so there's the Zemus. And
which is, well, it's bigger than the Sarah, but because Duke Larg is present, he's going to have to block lock.
He can afford to block lock anyway because he's got the Lulu down. Only does not have the Lulu down.
Doesn't have a Lulu down. And that's the 7th point of damage to Pete, so it is 1 apiece.
So yeah, going into game 3.
I must say, we're getting a good game out of these two. It's very tight, it's very interesting. You know, seeing some of the plays that we hadn't perhaps thought of until now. Again, I think that Pete's game plan is to get Zemus down and keep him there and use it as much as physically possible. Whereas I think Peter's early game plan, like in game 1, it didn't quite pan out the way I think he planned it to, whereas game 2, it did exactly what it needed it to.
Yeah. Getting the discards in early does hurt, especially if you can't get the Zemus down, which is what Pete was able to do game 1, but wasn't able to do game 2. So, as you can see, both players are using this lovely lightning playmat, which both players and all the players in the top 8 are now receiving, and I am slightly jealous.
It's a very nice playmat. I mean, the playmats, the quality of them have been very, very good consistently.
Yeah. When I arrived Friday and I saw them getting unwrapped, I was just like, they look. The photos that on the website do not do them justice.
I think if I were in Pete's position, I would again. I think going first is quite key in this matchup.
Yeah.
So I think if you can establish the board presence, it's like if you whack down 2 backups quickly, the discard, it's going to wipe the rest of your hand out, but you've done what you needed to do.
Yeah, you don't care at that point because you can then get a forward down next turn.
The only thing you're going to be afraid of is the vulnerability to Sid Olstein, but Sid Olstein is unlikely to come down that early in the game.
Yeah, especially if you're Peter, you're not going to play the Sid Olstein early on because it's going to cost you so much to play it. What Pete's been doing, realistically, he's been playing a couple of low-costed discard forwards first. So if he wants to get the value out of Sid Olstein, he's going to be discarding his entire hand to play it, and in my value, that's not worth it. So both players will draw their opening hand. Pete Chan is going to take the mulligan, and
as
so
is Peter. Odin discard turn 1 again.
For a red mage, though. You want that red mage down as early as possible because that is pretty much key to the rest of your strategy. Being able to give any forward haste is deadly. And we see overpayment of Sid Alstein, not Sid Alstein, sorry,
Gustalian
Sid. Too many Sids in this game. But ironically, he did actually discard another version of Sid. So I don't think you'd mind that much.
Well, not only that, but I think like discarding 2 for a searcher on turn 1 is actually quite good.
Yeah.
Because by regaining a card to your hand, you effectively like recuperate 2 of the CP you used to pay for it. So as long as you're getting a backup down and you're like deck thinning, getting the consistency of the plays that you want, you're fine.
And discarding a copy of the same backup as well when it's a unique one is ultimately better as well, because you're just going to be discarding it for CP later on.
Yeah.
So we see the red mage being doled.
3 CP.
Ilua?
Gramis. So Gramis will search up Alcid.
I believe that's the only target in Pete's deck. Now, if you're Peter, that puts a warning on you, knowing that your opponent has Alcid in hand. I can't play it forward next turn because it's going to be dying. Unless it's a Thaumaturge coming down and she starts discarding cards out of Pete's hand.
Absolutely. I think like the combination of things that you can play with Alcid is still staggering. I mean, it's even getting more support even now through things like Ilua.
Yeah.
Black Waltz 3. And then you have your classics, like you have Onion Knight and Rigdia. There's just so many things that you could do. Urianger is another one that's very good with it. You know, there's just so much you have available.
The Arcanist comes down for Peter. Now, it's a new card that we haven't really seen in play. We've seen it in people's decks, and it has been in the damage and the break zone, but it's never actually been on the field.
Arcanist is very, very good at warding off aggressive tactics.
Yeah.
Because you choose a number, and forwards of that level or that CP cost can't attack this turn. So if there's more than one of the same cost, and there are a fair few 4 CP units in Pete's deck, although there is a variety as well, you know, they can't attack. So if you're going into that push, the likelihood, if they've got too much out, you can at least kind of not worry so much about what you put out.
Sorry to cut you off. We see a red mage get played, and we also see the Zemus get played as well. My issue with Arcanist is it's a defensive card in an offensive deck. Mono Ice wants to be very, very aggressive, and Arcanist is kind of just like, oh yeah, I don't want you to attack, and it's just very, very defensive, and I'm not sure if I agree with that.
I like Arcanist a lot. I think it does very, very well in a lot of matchups. And I think if they're faster than you, like if you're up against fire or earth is something that, you know, ice is prone to struggling with occasionally, then Arcanist is very, very strong.
I want to see Genesis played right now. There we go. As soon as I saw the 2 backups get dodged, I knew that Genesis was coming down to done for his Zemus.
I think at this point, Peter's actually saving any Genesis plays he does have for Zemus because he knows how threatening that card is to him.
The issue is I'm pretty sure Pete still has the Alcid in hand. So he probably has the Onion Knight or the Rigdia to then flat out kill the Genesis. And Pete-chan is just going to get his forwards down whilst Peter is losing one.
I think it's in Peter's best interest if he has it available to play either Thaumaturge or Argoth at this point just to get an extra card out of his hand, just in case.
It would make sense because Pete-chan only has 3 in hand. One of those cards is Alcid, and more than likely is going to be one of the other combo pieces for Alcid. Maybe even possibly in the Ilua. Because
Ilua would be less of an issue because it wouldn't be enough to take out Genesis alone. It would need to be Rigdia or Onion Knight.
Or it would be really, really fluky if he had the other copy of Ilua in hand. Alcid comes down, pings it for 6k.
Okay, well, the Alcid is coming down with an Onion Knight.
Yeah. And you're going to use Shoal to then reduce Genesis's power by 2k, killing it, and then giving Alcid haste as well.
Lulu as well, so they're all much larger.
And Pete-chan has no cards in hand, so the discard isn't going to work anymore.
Very interesting play between Ilua and Zemus is very good because you can use Zemus to pull back an Ilua from your break zone, and then use the S ability on Ilua straight away if you have it to activate all of your forwards, give them all haste, and then make it so your opponent's guys are weaker. This also activates Zemus, so you can then use him again,
or just
attack with him.
Yeah. Which is a nasty combo. People forget as well that Shoal actually gives all your forwards haste. So you can, again, do it off an Alcid, get rid of an opponent's forward, and just swing in with a load of attackers.
So there's no damage been dealt just yet, although there's a Sid Alstein to deal with Zemus.
Had to be done. Zemus was the threat.
Zemus has been continuously the threat, I think, since game 1.
Yeah. And at this point as well, I think the only way to get rid of the Sid Alstein would be to party attack. You keep it forward in the field, C3. So Peter discarded a set of Babus against him, so there's a lot. Locke's not going to discard because he's only 2 or 3 characters needed for the field.
I think it's more a case of just trying to be threatening than anything else.
Yep.
So 2 CP for Alphanaut.
Interesting enough, the Onion Knight and the Alcid can actually trade with the lock. So you're probably going to let the Sid attack go through, but you're just going to trade with the lock.
Unless, of course, a Duke Larg comes down right now.
Duke Larg or possibly a Mirage Dive. And Mirage Dive, I think, is going to hinder Pete a lot. It just depends on what is in Pete's hands. So as you can see, he's only got 1 more in hand. He's going to take the Sid attack, and that's an Allure. And I don't know if he's going to attack the lock.
First point of damage has been dealt.
And if you see that Allure go to the damage, you're going to be thinking, that hurts. Allure is such a good card, has so many different things for what it does. Flying comes down, and if you're Peter, do you break it to discard the last card out of your opponent's hand?
I think with him only having 1 in hand and having the two weaker forwards out, I think accumulating... The reason Flan is so good is because you can use it to obviously acclimate your opponent's advantage and just make it so that it's more close to your own, or you can use it just to build your own further by searching for more of them, which you can then use later. Yes, so it's actually very versatile.
Which is what he's done now. He's opted to search for another copy of Flan.
You don't have to use it. You could save it to the next turn. You're just actually just accumulating CP if you wanted to.
Yeah, you can just use it as CP fodder. It's a free searcher pretty much. And at this point, I think this is where the play for Peter ends, and it'll then pass over back to Peachan. Yep.
There we go.
What has Peter drawn? Now, what can Pete do here to get rid of that Sid Alcid? A Raiden would be nasty right about now. Don't you think?
Yeah, no, it would be very, very costly, but I think that attacking with Alcid means that he's probably got something else in his hand. I think that's a Celes that's gone over.
Yeah. Yeah, so both players have now been told to move their damage down so we can actually see it. The Onion Knight's going to be attacking as well. I don't know if I agree with that. And there's a Genesis, which I'm so happy to come down. And Orlando comes down. Okay, I think he's I would
say using Alphinaud first and then playing the Orlando makes a massive difference.
Yeah, I think that's what he wanted to do first, but then kind of jump the gun. Pete's nerves might be getting to Pete first. Yeah. Okay, or it might have been the fact that the person, I think we got a judge watching them. They probably said, well, you've already tried to play the Orlando, you can't take it back.
Yeah, because otherwise he would have had to have discarded something.
Yeah, he's played all 5 backups. But either way, that
it's still a blockade. Yeah, it means that without lock, being unblockable, he can't attack.
Well, the Orlando is also at 10k to Sid's
9,
and
it can match Holstein.
It can survive the block of Holstein. And Flan's going to come down and discard a card, which is the Lulu. If you don't mind discarding, because it's just going to be CP for later on.
Let's hope that misplay doesn't come back to bite him.
Yeah. That's one thing you don't want to be doing in this game, is having a misplay like that and then dwelling on it later on, because it's going to make you feel utterly terrible.
Best thing to do is just accept that it's happened, don't worry about it, and just carry on.
We all misplay. It's just better to accept it, move on, and learn from it, so you know not to do it next time. I mean, if this is Pete Chan's first time in a major tournament scenario, it's very understandable that nerves are getting to him, especially as it's 1-1. The game advantage is getting on.
There's the Orphan.
So that will go on for
that's throwing a spanner in the works. It's about time we saw one of him.
Yeah, so Orphan comes in the field if you control 5 or more ice characters. So when it comes in the field, you dole 2 forwards, your opponent controls, and if you control 5 or more ice characters, he frees them as well, but it counts himself. So he was the fifth option. And when he attacks, you choose the forward, your opponent freezes.
It's definitely not wise to write off Pete anytime soon. He's still sitting on 5 backups to Peter's 2. He has big forwards. They are incapacitated at the moment, but There's the EX bursts that Lightning is so well known for, by having Idea, which is now fully live, and Idea can't take out Orphan though.
Orlando can actually activate himself with his special ability, which is what he might do. He might try to, when Orphan attacks, Orphan will then try and freeze the Orlando, and he'll just respond by activating it and then using it as a blocker. Unless there's got to be a reason why Pete hasn't played any of his backups. He's got 5 backups open. He's got 2 in hand, so possibly he's got an Odin in hand.
It could be Odin, it could be an Orlando. I think it's just keeping him guessing.
Yeah, at this point I was going to say Raiden, but he hasn't the CP to play it. He didn't only have enough CP to play for 7. And Raiden is just a disgusting card that Lightning got.
It's very rare you actually see Raiden played though. You only ever see one copy of it in a lot of days because 9 CP is a lot to play.
It is a lot. In my opinion, it's infinitely better than Bahamut. So, for those who don't know, this is just cost 9. You choose up to 2 forwards your opponent controls. You remove the first forward and you break the other. So it's flat out removal. Being able to remove a card from the game is also very, very powerful. And that's the thing, it doesn't break it. So you have cards that can't be broken. So you just choose that as the first target and you just remove it as it comes out. But yeah, to my point,
I think it's worth risking. Sorry to cut you off there, but it's worth risking.
There's the idea.
There's Idea to deal with Sidol's team. So I think it's worth risking the attack with Orphan and running into an Orlando S ability because at the end of the day, otherwise the game just isn't going to progress and Lightning is going to outpace you.
Yeah, he might be doing it. You take one attack, and the lock probably isn't going to attack because he can trade with the End of Night, or if needs be, he can activate it. Yeah, he's going to
He is going to trade with the End of Night.
Oh.
I would assume there that the S ability was activated in response to Locke's attacking.
Yeah, and not going to block. I think it's just a case of, I want to block this, and Cloakblade probably not communicating as clear enough as possible. So Pete now is on 5 damage.
There's a Scholar.
The Orlando isn't going to be coming back up again, but the Alcid will. Rocks.
There we go.
Yeah. Now, what can Pete do in here, in this situation? He's probably going to attack either the Alcid or the Onion Knight just to get another point of damage in. It looks like there's the Allure. So you're going to attack with the Allure as well. You get 2 points of damage in.
Well, he can't attack. He can't afford to attack all out.
No,
not even with 2. Not even with 2, because if anything comes down on Peter's side that will dull one of his forwards, it could spell doom.
But we know that Peter plays Opus 3 and 4 Shiva. So that can come in. Obviously, the Shivas are going to do nothing with the Allure. So that Allure is also 7,000. But I think I would still attack with the Allure anyway. You've played it for a reason. But it is possible he's got Shoulder in hand. He's got the final copy.
I mean, I'm very much enjoying Pete's Lightning deck here. I think the use of Orlando is very, very threatening, and the fact that the threat of there being the S ability go off is threatening to an Ice deck. So it's obviously bearing that matchup in mind and knowing that Ice can't safely or 100% safely attack.
Yeah.
I think that's really potent. And then obviously having access to Illua using her S ability as well, she can activate him as well.
Oh, I have just thought of something though. He's got the Scholar down, so he can actually fetch the copy of Lock for another Mirage Dive, putting Pete onto 6 damage.
Usually, I find the best thing is to make that the 7th point of damage because it's a lot harder to deal with. Yeah. But, mainly because Peter is safe to attack, 90% safe to attack with Orphan.
Yeah, when the Orphan attacks, that's going to be freezing the Orlando. That Orlando is not going to be standing anytime soon. Peter just having a thing, because he's got 3 in hand, and what is the best choice? Because at the moment he can't attack with the Lock because the Lock will be trading with any or one of Pete Chandler's forwards, and Peter's going to have a break zone. Orlando is going to be attacking and it's going to be freezing the Orlando, and at that point as well you're probably going to have to block because you don't want to be on that 6 point of damage, because as soon as he comes on that 6 point of damage,
the next attack will kill you.
Yeah, the next attack from the Scholar will kill you. And that's the thing as well, is he's going to have to block with the Orphan, because if he doesn't and goes on that 6 point, it's still Peter's turn. He can just break the Scholar and then get the Mirage Dive into the 7th. Very, very important turn for Peter. Shoot Log.
That does make a lot of difference, actually, a lot. I think, because it allows Locke to attack over everything but Orlando.
Yeah. We will just have to wait and see
if he's willing to risk those 2 S abilities.
I don't. It's just
he's going for it.
So he's going to trade.
Doesn't trade anymore.
He's going to block with the acid, and then he will because he's got the acid. Oh.
Dude-Log.
Yeah,
Locke is larger than Alcid by 1,000.
Yeah, 1,000, but I think he's then going to try and Alphanoid one of them.
Alpha Nord can only target an active forward.
Oh. So I think Pete kind of misread that then.
No, I mean, when the attack is declared, there's no time for Alpha Nord to activate.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
You would have to do that at the end of the main phase.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, at the time that we didn't know whether he was going to attack or not.
Yeah. It's very hard to get the timing right on when to do it, because if you do that, you then declare that, oh yeah, you do this, I'm trading with money forward, and you do kind of potentially stop an attack.
And not only that, but by dulling Alpha Nord on one of your backups, you're then leaving leaving the information open that you possibly don't want to use Orlando's S ability, because that also costs 2 lightning CP. So I can understand completely how that turn of events came about.
Yes, it often has it's frozen the Orlando again, so again that's not going to be standing up. It just depends. Pete Chat might not even have the other copy of Orlando in hand to just reactivate it. And again, this has the Bard, and back over to Pete's turn.
I believe that's Opus 4 Bard that will cause a discard out of your opponent's hand, so it's another discard card.
And at this point, if you've got a Raiden, you play the Raiden. You have to, surely.
Oh no, this is the Bard from Opus 4 that dulls a forward rather than discards one.
That's going to put a lot of pressure on. That's 1 discard.
So 3 CP for an Onion Knight.
I think at this point he's just putting forwards on the board.
3 CP for Rigdia.
Yeah, he's just putting forwards on the board to chump block at the moment. He's just trying to survive.
Unfortunately, both Rigdia and Alpha Nord can only target active forwards, and both of Peter's forwards are dull.
Onion Knight's damage forward.
No, Rigdia and Alpha Nord, and then Onion Knight come after them.
Yes, yeah, both. But yeah, at this point it's just the bodies. They're just bodies to just chump block. He knows for a fact that they're going to be dying during Peter's turn. He's just doing it to survive, to try and live another day. And if you're looking at this, it's
Orphan is monstrous to try to get around. It is a very difficult forward to beat.
Yeah.
It's one of the slower cards in Ice decks, but it's very decisive when it decides to show its face.
And this is when
show its face in profile.
This is when the struggles of Mono Lightning happen, is because you can't outseed anything when all your opponent's stuff is dull. You can't start amassing forwards like you would normally do if they are dull. So Orphan's attacking,
keeping Orlando locked down.
Yeah, just chump blocking again, and a lot's going to do the same.
Although I think Orphan actually targeted Illawa there. It did. I think the reason to do that is just to stop her, to get that first target out of the way. Yeah. Because whenever Illawa is targeted the first time in a turn, it cancels it. So it might be that he was targeting Illawa just so that he has a different plan for Illawa.
It might be he's got a Shiva in hand and he just wants to get the lock in to discard that final card, and then next turn's colour. If I have the Shiva in hand, that's what I would do.
Lock is going in as well. Okay, now this time we're using Alpha Nord at the right time, so there's more threatening for Lock to attack.
Makes more sense, because then if Lock attacks, he can just trade with you.
Yeah.
But again, if Peter does have
there's a Shiva.
So yeah, you're right, he did target Illawa, and this is going to be Lock attacking, is going to take a damage.
Sadly, not on Odin. Odin would have changed with a massive turnaround in that moment.
Peter wins next turn. He scholar back another copy of Lock and just Mirage Guide.
It provided that obviously Pete doesn't remove that lock beforehand.
Yeah. But the Orlando is now standing. But I don't think there's any way. Again, the only way I see Pete Chan coming back from this is the Raiden. And we don't know if he's discarded it early, if he's seen it. That's
Orlando is back up, so he can block. I mean, he can block Orphan, but if Mirage Dive is there, the ideal play here would be for Scholar to be used to pick up Lock then be used to pay for Mirage Dive, and then he gets removed from the board. That's a big difference.
That's the best way to do it. That is the best way to do it.
Because Orphan now can't attack safely because he'll trade with Orlando, or possibly lose to it outright due to Willow or Orlando.
So here comes the Scholar. Yeah, so here comes the play we spoke about. He's going to grab the locks, just get in the Mirage Dive, and then on payment of Mirage Dive, that's when you ride him. If Pete's got it. If Pete hasn't got it, Peter goes to top 4. We know Pete's got 3 in hand, so he can easily pay for it. That is 3 in hand, isn't it?
I believe it's 2. It might be 3.
If he's got 2 in hand, he can't pay for it, and it's game over.
Well, he may have an Odin in his hand, which he could pay for.
If it is an Odin, help survive.
The only real threat to him right now is Lock. It's a big threat, but it's the only threat.
I was going to say the only way he can actually survive as well if he used Orlando. Exodus. Had to.
Yeah, well, as I say, the game's not over yet. He will say it ends up it's out of the way. The other Lock is also gone. The Scholar is also gone. Although the Bard has also been able to knock out Orlando as well.
I think.
And then Orphan goes in for the win.
I was concede. I think.
So Peter is now one of our top 4 contestants. So Mono Ice going through to top 4.
Yep.
And then Mono Lightning, unfortunately, being knocked out.
It is what it is. Pete Chan put up a very valiant fight. I think he knew from the get-go that was going to be a very, very close match, and he did as much as he physically could.
I think, Zemus was extremely entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
Like watching just the accumulation of advantage, certainly in that first game where you end up with just this wall of forwards that it just keeps growing.
Yeah.
And it's because Ice can't deal with that, or can't deal with him very easily. It's very, very easy for them to get overrun. But from the second game onwards, I think Peter was able to identify the fact that Zemus was the real threat and needed dealing with instantly, and so therefore kind of picked up from that.
Yep.
So
we're going to interview. We're going to do an interview in a bit, but we do have something special for you guys.
So the first spoiler that we have for you today, we're going to spoil for you in just a moment.
Yep.
But we're just going to quickly go off for a couple of moments. We won't be too long at all. We're going to go quickly see if we can grab Pete to see if he can come and answer a couple of questions for us, and then we'll be back in a very, very short while.
Yeah, so it goes. I think we're going to do spoiler, then the interview, and then
that's right.
So we'll catch you guys in a bit.
See you later. Hi there, guys. So we're back again for the UK National Championship. Do excuse me, my voice keeps going a little bit.
Yeah,
Talking for a long length of time is going to do that to you. But the sun has come out from behind the clouds and has brightened everything up a little bit. But today we're going to be bringing you the first of our 2 spoilers for the day.
We did 2 spoilers yesterday, so for those who didn't see it, we had a new pain, and I'm not going to pronounce it, but it was a Star Silver Target, it was an Earth backup.
Yeah.
So without further ado, drum roll.
We have Colossus. Now, Colossus is a monster card that's 4 CP and lightning and has 0 activation cost, which we've seen before in Ozma. That's been it's a lovely thing to have. Until the end of turn, Colossus also becomes a forward with 7,000 power, and when Colossus attacks, deal 1,000 damage to all the forwards your opponent controls, only playable once per turn.
So, what I mentioned earlier is Orlando. This card combos perfectly with Orlando. In fact, you can play this a couple of turns beforehand, activate this for free, swing, do chip damage to all your opponent's forwards, and you have free reign to pick what card Orlando is breaking.
I mean, I think the Colossus is very powerful. I mean, the Orlando is a very, very obvious pick for it. It's very, very strong. But Colossus is really strong in and of itself. It's a 4 CP, essentially on-curve forward that isn't a forward.
Yeah, and the fact that it's costing you nothing to activate it, you can basically use him as an on-pinch blocker if needs be. Because realistically, that's probably going to be an AK with Lulu.
The best thing to bear in mind when it comes to monsters that turn into forwards is that they dodge all forms of slower removal. So if you're playing, say, Earth Lightning, you can afford to play Shantotos. If you're playing Wind Lightning, you can afford to play Valorfors, and you're still going to have forwards by the end of it. And by having no activation costs, that's a very potentially strong effect. It's quite a simple effect, and it does trigger a lot of things. It triggers Orlando, it triggers Onion Knight. It combos very well with other things that deal chip damage as well. The only thing you're going to have to be careful of, obviously, is damage control cards like Larsa or Minwoo. Or things like that. There's a lot of things that you can reduce the amount of damage you take. But generally speaking, I think Colossus is actually a very strong forward. Monster and forward.
I reckon it's going to see a lot of play, and the fact that it's not unique, you can have multiples of these on the field at the same time. So you can just go, okay, I'll play these early on. But again, like you said, play a Shantoto or a Valfor and just go swing, swing, swing for free. It's going to be a very interesting card to see and how people incorporate into the decks.
We've not often seen a lot of lightning-based monster decks.
No.
But I think that with a card like this, you also have Twilight Odin as well, which is already a very, very strong card.
And
so
Dragoon
having,
as well.
You also Dragon as well, Black Knight. There's quite a few different ones. But in terms of monsters that become forwards, Colossus and Twilight Odin are both very strong, and you can then build that removal suite around it.
I think Behemoth is another one that does see a lot of play as well.
And it's unfortunate we haven't seen another 3 CP or less lightning monster that becomes a forward due to Azul, which can bring one back when he dies. But at the end of the day, I think that this is going to be a very strong card, and it's going to be really great to see what it can do.
Yeah, so let us know what you guys think. Obviously, this is we shared around the world. We'll keep an eye on it. But yeah, let us know what you think.
Yeah, now we've got one more spoiler for you that is going to be coming up at the end of the tournament, and don't forget, there's going to be a legendary card, so we're very excited to share this with you. And just stay tuned. We'll be back very, very shortly, and we'll be asking Peter when we have to go find him.
Yeah, go
and
find
we'll
him.
ask him some questions about his deck, ask him some questions about the matchups he's had, and the match we just watched. So thanks very much, and we'll be back very, very shortly.
Okay, guys.
Hi there, guys. This is Joe, and I'm here with Peter, who's just been our first contestant for top 4. So, how did you feel that went?
Oh, that.
It was an interesting game.
I got heart failure.
Very interesting.
No, it was. I'm an honest guy, man, and I just felt bad for him afterwards, you know. But he's getting on the fight at half one, so he was like, "No, I'm fine with that." So.
Oh, bless him.
Yeah.
So you're referring to obviously like some of the plays that went. We
Yes.
were watching on the stream.
Oh, of course you
we
were.
weren't
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
We weren't sure, obviously, if it was a case of Orlando being played and not having Disco. We were like, oh, okay. Was he forgotten to perhaps use one
The
of the abilities?
Orlando was clutch. Yeah, he dropped the Orlando, and then in response, Alphanord effect, and then I just looked straight to the judge because I was like, has he just dropped Alphanord? Dropped Orlando? But no, he because it was an illegal target.
Yeah, because it wasn't active at the time.
And then the judges said no. So
it's an unfortunate thing, but I think it's important for everyone to bear in mind that it can happen to anybody. You know, we all make these mistakes. You know, I've done it, you've done it. It's very important, and the pressure of like a top cut can get to you.
I'm sweating.
But that being said, though, it was still a very, very entertaining game to play. You played some very, really interesting matches. Like your uses of lock were really, really good. Like lock was coming down very frequently. Your early 2 games were very, very aggressive. Like you would play down, you'd play down like a Thaumaturge, an Argath, a Sarah, like one after another flans. It was just discard, 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 discard. Is that something that you were consciously doing when you went to build the deck, and you were like, that is what I'm aiming to do?
Like I adapted during that best of 3 to the match and to the player, but yeah, I built the deck, and yesterday that's all I did was just I 7-0'd so many games yesterday. I literally just went for it.
Yeah,
and this guy's just so unfair right now. It's like Thaumaturge. As soon as I read the thing, my face lit up like a Christmas tree. I literally was like, I loved Argath, and everyone was like, "Oh, Argath's terrible." I read Thaumaturge. I was like,
no, Argath is good. Argath is a very good card.
I ran a 1 of Argath, but Thaumaturge I ran 3 of because I just fell in love with the card as soon as I saw it. And
I think the fact that you can run multiple copies of it at once is a big deal.
you just spam it.
So like your Argath is like your 4th Thaumaturge, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a
crazy.
very potent thing. The other thing I noticed is that when you were playing in your games, I think you managed to identify that Zemus was a massive threat very quickly.
He said to me before the game, it's going to be Zemus or no Zemus, and he's going to drop it very early, and I said that thing's going to be frozen. I'm going to keep that thing frozen.
Yeah, I think it's very important to keep that thing locked down.
I didn't
as much
get
as
it keep
possible.
it frozen game 1 and game 2. I think I managed to sit Arstein in the end. He emptied his hand.
Olstein did a lot of work in those games.
He emptied his hand, and my face lit up. I was like, God, I can sit Arstein, because obviously you probably saw I had it in my hand right now. Yeah. So. But no, it was a fantastic game. It's been a great event.
Yeah, excellent. So you've enjoyed yourself over the course of the weekend?
This has been a brilliant weekend. It's been fantastically run. Be with Fabian, you yourself, what's your mate who runs it's here?
Yeah, Lucas.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
So I mean, going forward into top 4 now. I mean, so you've got your qualification for Worlds now. For Euros, you've got your qualification for Euros now. You've already.
Euros, yeah. Oh,
so going forward into top 4. You know, obviously, what the other decks are present in the top 8 because obviously we make sure that it's public knowledge. We know everyone knows what everyone's kind of got at this point. Are there any matchups that you're kind of like thinking, oh, I could take this. It's all good.
To be honest with you, I believe Alex Hancock's is through. He's mono ice.
Yeah.
I think Stephen and another German mono ice. So it's going to be.
I actually haven't seen the result for the other thing.
It's going to be
all 4 mono ice decks top.
So have fun, guys. There's going to be a lot more ice going on.
It's going to be an interesting one
for those ice lovers or haters. Oh god. But
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, getting that early game push, it can do a lot of work. It really can. I mean, there's a lot of answers to ice. They are out there. But I think that it's interesting to see quite such a concentration. But it was also the most popular deck of the weekend.
It was really popular. I mean, Wind Earth for me really hits the deck really hard. Yeah. Really hard. And I have one Wind Earth matchup and I managed to get through it successfully, but it's a real. I expected to see it more, but ice just overcome the weekend. It's been obviously we're in the top 4 now. There's loads of us.
So for everyone who's out there watching who perhaps finds ice decks quite intimidating or sees that obviously there's a lot of them being played at the moment, what advice would you give to somebody who's wanting to beat it?
To beat ice?
Yeah.
mean, there's a couple of routes really. I mean, you can go the defensive earth. My friend plays the defensive. You got the Yang and the Guy. I mean, it's pretty slow. It's pretty, you know, defensive wall, brave 2K, and then you got the you stall for the game. But to be honest with you, it's really hard. Like the other version, I would say is Wind Earth, because I just think Dadaluma is the flavour of the month.
Dadaluma does a lot of work against ice.
It's the flavour of the month, and I didn't see it yesterday. I saw it in the damage. That's where I would like to see it. But now, I'll be honest, that card scares me after death, because obviously you can imagine what work that does to my automatons. And so what's the point? But the way I saw it was like they can't play it, they've got no cards in their hand, so I'm gonna just spam the board and go from there.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining me. Is there anything else that you kind of want to add? I can see you're wearing a team top there. So
Team Calamity. So
there you go. Little shout out.
Shout out to Eric, Mitchell, Rich, all the Team Calamity guys, Joseph, Aslan. They've been absolutely amazing. You know, they helped me build all the decks I made, to be honest with you. And actually, a shout out, because Team Calamity, come on down. We're in Hatfield, Hertfordshire. We're very approachable. You know, Joe's come a few times.
I have been a couple of times.
Do you know what I mean? And we're lovely there, and you know, very approachable, and we help new players and experienced players as well. So,
I mean, in the chat box, I've just left a note to say where all the different stores that you can find. So, if you wanted to find Calamity, then you're welcome to kind of look it up, and then I'm sure you guys would love to have some more players come down and come visit.
Oh yeah, man, that's great, and but no, it's been fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I think top 4 is probably my limit, but we'll see. We'll give it a go.
You never know. Don't write yourself off.
No, I'm sweating. But no, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming on, and we'll see you in top 4, I guess.
Yeah, man, you will.
We'll be back in just a little while when we'll be going straight to the top 4, and we'll see how Pete performs and the other 3 contestants.
Hey guys.
So sorry, we had a little bit of technical difficulties while trying to get top 4 going. But we are here now for top 4 for day 2 of UK National Championship for Final Fantasy TCG. And here we have Alex Hancock's and Vaso Loiseau.
Yep,
I'm pronouncing that correctly, right?
Yeah, you're pronouncing that correctly. So the interesting thing about this match is these players are both friends. They both basically help out Vaso's club, and they are playing the exact same list.
They're identical.
The lists are identical. I spoke to Vaso earlier, and he said actually went up to Alex and went, "Build me a deck," and Alex just gave him his exact list. So
fair enough.
Every single deck in this card is identical. These two players play test against each other. So that's pretty much why we wanted to get them on stream, to see how well they would fare up against each other.
So we've started on Alex's side with a Duke Larg as the first play, which is obviously not ideal, and then an Edward to follow, so at least it's evened itself out. And then on Vaso's side we have a Scholar. Yeah, Scholar and Devout are both Ingas, so sometimes it's quite hard to differentiate them.
And I see your Edward, my own Edward. So also to note, the other top 4 match is Mono Water versus Mono Ice.
So it is another Mono Ice deck.
Yeah, so we will have a Mono Ice deck in the final, but whether it's a mirror match or Mono Water versus Mono Ice it
remains to be seen.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be very interesting to see. I won't lie, when I did my discussion video thing on the Facebook group earlier in the week, this was kind of like my dream final match. Not realising, we didn't look at the brackets, not realising that this was going to be the semi-final match. But yeah, it would be very interesting to see how well the players do. Obviously, we know Alex is a very, very cool collective player. Went to Worlds last year, very, very good player. And Vaso only really gotten into the game, I believe, this year, but was always interested and had a very good mentor with
pressing
Alex.
an advantage quite nicely with Sarah and Locke.
Yeah.
So he's obviously getting the hand out. He's taking advantage of the fact that Alex has had to discard early in order to play his Duke Larg.
Yeah.
But he's rehabilitating his back row by playing, just get some backups. No damage has been dealt as of yet.
He's Genesis.
Meeting Locke with Genesis. And his Genesis is 1,000 bigger because of Duke Larg being on the board, whereas Vaso's are both at base level.
Yeah, which is what you want. You want in the mono deck, you want to see that booster straight away. I see your Genesis and I raise you my own Genesis. That seems to be the theme of Vas already. Alex played Edward, Vas played Edward. Alex has played Genesis, Vas has played Genesis.
I mean, with identical decks,
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
So Sarah's going to come swinging in for the first point of damage for Vas. And Vas, do you think that's a very good sign? Game 1, you're up against someone who comes second in Worlds and you can get the first point of damage in.
I think if they know each other well, I think that's kind of one of those things that could go over your head quite easily. Yeah. It's not a big deal. And I think if two friends playing against each other, when you're meeting up in like the top cut of a tournament, it's actually kind of sweet. I quite like that.
Obviously, no doubt they're probably trolling each other as they play right about now anyway. So we see Glacier come down to kill Sarah. And that wouldn't surprise me. It's just they're probably having a laugh with each other. They're going to be having fun. There's no
discarding
pressure.
Another Genesis off of the Doom train.
Yeah. So play passes over to Alex and drawing cards. So we did kind of see this from Alex yesterday. On round 1, he kind of just stomped through his opponent and just there's Sid Olstein.
Sid Olstein, but there is cards in his hands.
Yep, not going to be killing. It's just there as a 10k body. And I think he knows there's some kind of freeze coming in, and there's Bane.
This is looking a little on the bleak side on Alex's side right this moment.
Alex just lost the Genesis to the damage, and there's
another Duke Larg. So that's not the worst thing in the world.
Another thing as well, he was able to take the damage. He had no cards in hand, so it wasn't as effective with Genesis not going in. But still, knowing you've got a Genesis out of your opponent's deck.
So we're attacking with Genesis, knowing that he can trade with Vayne.
Yes.
So either way, Alex is going to get something out of this. If Genesis dies along with Vayne,
and then another Genesis,
then he manages to get some damage through. Or if he trades with the Vayne, then the Sid Olstein is able to get back up. So we've got very similar boards on both sides. I actually think that Vaso needs to start thinking about getting Duke Larg down pretty quickly if he can help it.
And it's quite ironic that the first point of damage for either player has been Genesis. Both players have had a Genesis on the field. They've then lost the Genesis to damage. So who can get the second one down? Now here comes a party attack.
from Locke and Genesis.
It makes sense. He's trading, but getting rid of they're both going to
lose a guy each. I think that Genesis is the right call to pick out of the two because there's one in the damage zone already, which means it's less likely that he's going to come back.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Bass is probably going to take the Genesis attack here again. I don't think he minds discarding the card if he can then swing with his own lock and do the same. But I don't think Alex is going to be... Oh, I stand corrected. I didn't think he was going to attack.
I think he knows that he can press an advantage because he knows that Vayne wants to stick around for as long as possible, whether he's active or dull, because he's doing his job.
Yeah, exactly.
And he knows that if the Vayne goes down, then Sid Olstein at 10,000 is not going to be the easiest thing to get around.
It's going to put a lot of pressure on his opponent, on Vass. So if I was Vass, I'd probably take the damage. You're going to discard, but you're locked.
I'm not sure I would. I think I would... the reason that he's thinking about it, I think, is because Sid is a threat right now, but it's quite easy for him to be pacified by Ice being
Ice.
So
he's going to trade.
So I think they're like... Sid is down right now, and it's open to lock unless Alex plays something else. So it forces him to have to play something else in case he starts losing cards. And Sid will get back up, but it's still a 1-for-1 race at the moment.
Yeah. And at that point as well, we have seen the party attack, so it wouldn't surprise me if Bass tries to bait the Sid Alstein block with another party attack later on to try and trade. Genesis,
The Devout.
Okay, so that lock's probably going to come in. Has kept Carla.
Given that we know that Devout is in both, or that both decks are identical, the fact that Devout is in Alex's deck means it's also in Vasso's, which means it is possible to get Vayne back.
Yeah, so he discarded the Scholar from hand and then actually drew the one-drop Mateus to the damage, and now Bass is going to be forced to play number 4. I don't even know if he should play a level 4. Like, realistically, that Sid Alstein is just going to ping for 1 damage. And
I think a backup is probably more important to the longevity of his game. Yeah. It depends on whether he wants to push or not. But with Sid Alstein being as large as he is, playing another 4 would stop Sid Alstein from attacking next turn, or would make it less likely that he's... Oh, right, Sid Alstein's going to the damage, to the break zone.
I missed something?
Oh, Zalera. Right, I was like, what? Yeah, what's happening? I think the fact that these two are so comfortable with each other, they kind of know what the plays are going to be. We also can't hear what they're saying, so it could be that he's
like I said, they're
communicating it as they're going, whereas we're kind of on the back foot and trying to pick things up as they happen.
Yeah, they are probably just having a lot of fun. There's Alex's little mascot hat. Him and his slippers this week has made my day. He's literally just been walking around the venue in his slippers. So
there's a Vayne of his own, which is at this point just kind of a body, but it's a large body.
It's a 9k body. Bass really does need to get his own Jupiter Arc down. It wouldn't surprise me if he's got a way to counteract that Vayne as well.
Monocolor mirror matches do tend to rely on the power of the forwards as the actual kind of like wall breaker between the two, because especially with Ice, they both have such good walling capabilities and pacifisms and just trying to stop forwards from doing much, that when you do get a forward, you want it to hit hard.
I think most people will agree, will say that watching a mono mirror match is the most exciting thing to do because of how the decks are. But this is probably going to be one of the more interesting ones to do because they know each other so well. The game is going to be very fast paced and they're not going to be really dwelling on, what if I do this, what if I do that, so to speak. They know each other inside out, which is what you want. It's going to be a very exciting match. Sets are in hand with the Sellers.
Orphan, I think I spot there as well.
Yeah, he did discard Orphan. It looked like he was trying to pay for something, but then took the play back. But there is definitely an Orphan. It looks like a good Starlight Empire Sid as well.
I think that might be a worthwhile choice, but it's a case of what you want to... In fact, I think there's 2 Orphans there.
There's definitely a Sellers and there's definitely a
Orphan is probably a good play right now because it will get that last card out of Alex's hand through Dulling and Freezing Vayne.
It wouldn't freeze. He's only got 3 ice characters.
Dulling Vayne, but having a body and allowing Locke to attack. But the trouble is that because Vayne is still there, should Orphan attack, he won't be getting back up.
He won't be standing back up. So there's 5. There's Setzer.
So Setzer. So that's a safe play. Setzer is a very safe play. Safe in the sense that you could use Setzer to search for Gastalian Emperor,
which he's done.
Which he's now done, which he can then use if he wants to by discarding something else. If he's got 2 orphans in hand, then maybe it's worth using that.
You can then search...
and then search up another lock.
He's got an empty hand, so search out a lock. You're not the opponent. I don't know if I would search out the lock now. Maybe search the Sellers, because if the Vayne attacks you, then lock the Sellers down.
I would... If it were my choice, I would go for a lock, because if you've only got that 1 card in hand, chances are that the other deck is going to try and get rid of it anyway, so you might as well make use of it while you can.
I guess as well the fact that you put Alex into his 4th point of damage and knock the final card out of his hand, very potent, and then it looks like what he's going to do.
And getting rid of a Flan
and an orphan
at the same time, it's like that is a push. You know, it's like because in the situation at hand, I think the number of cards in your own hand is worth bearing in mind when you're going in, especially against dice. If discard is so relevant, you're going to want to make sure that it doesn't affect you that badly, so you want to capitalise on what you have.
Think about it, that orphan would have been drawn for Alex's turn, and he could have played it straight away and then been able to dull and freeze both the sets and the lock and just started swinging.
So Devout's now brought out Genesis again, which is dulled and frozen Setzer, and then taken a point of damage, which is another Flan.
And then he got
Sarah, which
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because there's no hand in
Alex is just saying discard your hand. I haven't got a hand. Discard it anyway. So the lock's now active. Sarah can actually trade with the lock. Sarah's 7k.
Yes, it can. That's probably the reason that she's there.
Yeah, Alex didn't really care as much for the discard. It's just something to trade with the lock.
Meaning that he doesn't have to block with the Genesis and risk losing it.
We could see another play later on as well. Bass has a Scholar on the field, so he could essentially get the Mirage Dive back off. He sees his own Devout.
Which could pull back Genesis of his own. Yeah. It could pull back.
Interesting that he did discard another copy of Orphan. I think both players only played 2.
I think the issue is like Orphan is going to take a little while to set back up again. Yeah. So, and if there's an answer, the Vayne is still there. Like Vayne being there, and with Ice, as we've discovered in the previous match, with Ice having difficulty outright killing something sometimes. If the Vayne is there, it's probably going to stay there.
So Sarah and Vayne are attacking. So that's Zalera, everything's attacking.
So Zalera, Sellers, and Matthias have gone over. And then we're pulling back Sellers to freeze, probably Setzer again.
Yeah, well, Setzer doesn't even need to be frozen. It's Vayne.
Of course, it's 5-drop, isn't it? Yeah, so it'll freeze the Devout so that he can't pull anything back.
Done. But yeah, he played the Stallion Empire in and then just paid 2 straight out of his hand to play the Sellers. And immediately, just like in one turn, Alex just turned this match around.
Goes to show that, I mean, it can go both ways, because there's no reason why the same going to happen again this turn, or again the following turn. In this particular matchup, it's all to play for, because there's so many different swingy things that can be done. As long as Vasa can keep himself alive, you have access to that Devout, which can pull back a Genesis or a Sellers, other discard outlets. There's plenty of options you have. Then you've also got Alex, who's like coming back from an early lackluster play, but the Duke Lark that he played turn 1 has actually proven to be really quite beneficial for him.
Yeah, exactly. So Vass thinking about what to do now. So he is on the 5th point of damage, so he's reaching the danger zone. And he's playing Kuja and passing turn.
I wonder, did he just show his hand to his opponent?
It looked like he showed an extra Devout, so that's a 6 point of damage, and it looks like a Duke Log. Here comes Vayne,
and then that last point of damage is going to kill. Yeah. So it was a concession of sorts by the looks of things. So Alex takes game 1, which is impressive from the early start that he had.
Yep.
But as I keep saying, over the course of this tournament, you can never write anything off. Even if like the early game plays, you should never be disheartened or discouraged by it. You can pull it back. Yep. You absolutely can.
And this just goes to show that Alex, even though he hasn't really been very outgoing in regional season, we haven't really seen him in any regionals. I think he only attended one spring pub this year. Even though he's been quiet, he still knows exactly what he's doing. He's very calm, collected, very methodical about what he's doing. Just because you're quiet about going to regionals and stuff like that does not mean you're a bad guy. And this just shows it. And again, Bassett has done very well to get here.
I'm wondering if in this particular matchup, going first, I think again, despite the additional draw, I don't think there's a really a right or wrong answer about going first or second in this matchup, because if you go second, you're going to have the additional card that's going to like ward off some of the discard. But if you go first and you get some of that discard down early, then you set the pace of the game. So it's like there's swings and roundabouts to both. If personally, I think I'd still choose to go first.
Yeah, I think just to get those backups down realistically. So both players drawing an open hand, have a handshake. Would not surprise me if it's a fist bump. Hit her on. So no mulligan. That looks like a Edward in hand. No, Zalera, sorry.
I can spot a Castalian Emperor.
It's definitely 6 in hand, isn't it? Is he going to mulligan?
Yeah, it's definitely 6 in hand.
Yeah.
So Vaso has definitely chosen to go first.
There's a Kuja.
Two drops for 2 backups. It's a good choice.
And one of them being Harley as well. I mean, so he can literally stole one of them to play Edward later on, and he's still got another CP up for Castalian Empire Sid.
I mean, I do. Dropping 2 for Harley and Edward. So overpaying for the Edward, but making it so that he's having to drop that extra card. The value is still there, and dropping Kuja, which obviously a lot of people who watch us know that upsets me greatly.
And then, again, here's my Edward to meet your Edward.
And a Sarah goes out.
And here comes the
Sid, so he's keeping his own hand up, and 4 backups turn 2 is very, very good.
Yeah.
But it goes to show, like, we've seen it time and time again in Ice decks. Harley and Edward. Harley doesn't look like much. You know, it's very, very simple. It just reduces the cost of Edward. But because this new Edward from Opus 5 is so good, it's worth the cost. There's a trend of cards like Semi Lafina, which makes Star Sybil cheaper, Harley that makes Edward cheaper. There's going to be a lot of cards like that that sound really narrow-minded, but can actually put a lot of work in.
So Vasov to Sid search Setzer, I believe.
Yep.
And then play pass him over to Alex. So Alex, if you're looking at this field right away, you're thinking, okay, he's got 4 backups now. I need to play as many backups as I can and try and
start playing forward.
Or start playing forward. There's a Scholar.
He's played it safe.
He just passes over. So he must have a few high-costed forwards in his hand, maybe up a Setzer. And now Bass is just free, pretty much, to just go in. So here comes the Setzer, and he's left the Edward up. So, and there, he's discarded the Genesis, just playing lock straight away, discarding another card.
Because you have Sid and Setzer there, which fulfills the requirement for him having 2 other FF6 characters.
Yeah, exactly. He's just shortcutting it. He's not adding it to hand shuffling. He's literally just going, here's what I'm doing. And Alex knows exactly what he's doing. There's no point beating around the bush with it. And now Alex is staring down a bit of a monstrous field.
Kuja, I think, in this matchup is actually very, very potent, because there's not a lot. It comes back down to the previous game where Zemus was a threat, because despite being slightly slower by not having an interplay effect, Kuja can be a wall breaker, and he's very good at it.
Yeah. So when he attacks, you choose forward, you play any CP, and you dull a forward, and then on the same, it goes on the same stack, so one goes on top of the other. You may pay an ICP to do freeze it.
So on attacking, dulling and freezing something can actually be very powerful, and in this matchup, Setzer is no longer an issue as far as Kuja's concerned.
So what you can do as well is when your opponent plays a new forward, you can just tap with the Kuja, you freeze the already dull forward and then dull the new forward, and you're just getting points of damage for free. Now, neither player does have the Duke Larg up. I think if Bass gets his Duke Larg down now, then Alex is in definite trouble.
I do think the Duke Larg will make a big difference.
About?
No matter whose side it comes down on, but I don't think it's the be-all and end-all. It's just, it definitely sets a precedent for the amount of damage you can deal, and therefore how much pressure you can apply to your opponent.
I think you press an attack now, because if even so, you're trading forward, but you still have another forward on the field that you can get that point of damage in.
Depends on how much you value lock against the Kuja.
A party attack.
We're letting the Kuja go.
And he's going to trade with a lock by the looks of it.
I mean, Setzer wouldn't be the worst idea either, because he won't have any forwards left to be dulled and frozen by Setzer.
He's gone for the lock.
But he has gone for the lock.
And play passes over to Alex. I don't know. To your point though, he can just about the lock back again next turn and then just discard the card out of Alex's hand.
This blatant abuse of Kuja is starting to upset me slightly. But I understand his role in this game. And then Duke Log has come down now.
So Duke Log is going to be, the difference maker. Basically, all the buffers from Opus 1 have just been insane. So all the Ice Forge you control gain pounds of power.
There's an Orphan that's gone over. Devout's now going to pull back.
Lock, discard another card from Alex's hand. Discards Devout. And play will probably pass over to Alex after playing Bane.
So I believe that Vayne would have come down just because I've now got 3 forwards, you have 0, you have to start playing something.
Yeah, especially after he's forced Alex to discard. Alex has got 4 in hand. So Alex is immediately has to put some answer the pressure that Vass's put on him.
I think also the fact that he's got 2 in hand means that he's relatively safe from a Sid Olstein play.
Well, the Vayne has just come down, so that's going to lock the Setzer down. So that's a one answer to the problem.
And it's also bigger than either of Vasso's forwards, Dukes and Duke.
So he can answer a question that Vass does have, unless Vass now places Angry Log. Have to see what happens.
Does remain to be seen because if Alex wins this and then wins his next match, then he would have won UK Nationals 2 years in a row.
And that's an incredible feat. I think in most TCGs that's very, very hard to do.
Quite rare.
Yeah, very rare. And that just goes to show that, again, what I said to you earlier, you don't have to be attending every event to be good. You just attend the ones that matter, and if you're that good, you'll rise to the occasion and you'll stomp it.
So Flan coming down, searching for another Flan.
Yeah. A lot of cards in Alex's hand right there.
So therefore Flan's probably a wise move, just so that he can start thinning it out without spending too much resource of his own.
Yeah, so he's got 2 on board, 1 active. He's probably going to get a 3rd one next turn, and then keep them active. So then when he wants to, he can just discard 3 cards out of Alex's hand.
Well, the nice thing with Flan, and the first effect of it at least, is that by leaving 1 CP up, you can use it during your opponent's turn. So once your opponent's played out pretty much all you think they're going to play out, you can go, okay, now I'll go and get another Flan.
Yeah, exactly. Because then when that's the thing with monsters is they don't have summoning sickness, so to speak. So he can dole the Flan and put it into the break zone, and he'll start using its ability, and that's the turn it's used. So if he does get the 3rd one in his during Alex's turn, he can play that and then just go discard, discard, discard. Bane swinging.
So we are attacking with the Vayne.
That's an Edward.
That's the first damage apiece.
That is one thing we haven't seen today yet, is Edward using its special ability.
I mean, in mono ice matchups, the summons tend to be less threatening than to each other because, Matthias is very popular, and Matthias, you're trying to get rid of their forwards anyway or incapacitate them otherwise.
Genesis is coming down. That's probably going to delve through the lot because that's going to be the threat. But yeah, I think the only real summon, here comes the Flan play we spoke of earlier as well. With the Edward, the only real summon you're going to want to be cancelling is Glacier.
Yeah.
Because being able to kill a forward, especially because Vasso doesn't have his Duke Log up, Glacier is going to be killing most of the forwards. And then also the discard option as well is very strong, as we've seen all weekend long. So being able to cancel that is very, very strong. So play them passing over to Vasso. He's probably going to play Flan, and that does look a multitude of cards in Alex's hand there.
He'll at least half his hand if he chooses to use them now.
Yeah, it looks like 4 in hand, so he can essentially shrink that down to 1 if he wanted to. We apologise for the announcements in the background, as we've mentioned over the weekend. There are other tournaments going on this weekend, and obviously we're in a venue, so there has to be a public announcement, so we can't stop that, I'm afraid. We apologise nonetheless.
So he's got 5 in his hand,
yeah,
possibly even 6.
That looked like a Renoa as well in his hand. It could be completely off the bat. Here's his own Orphan. So Vayne is now free to attack, so that's going for the 2nd point of damage.
And he's got more than enough characters to warrant the freezing.
It's funny how the cards in the damage line are almost identical.
Though, I mean, Orphan isn't safe to freely attack unless he's willing to have him locked down by Vayne.
Yeah, the Orphan is just going to be there as a big beefy blocker, realistically. If he can get a Vayne off the board, then he'll do it. But that Orphan is just going to be sat there as a 9k body. And he'll probably trade with the Vayne later on anyway. So there's the Glacier.
And dulling Orphan to keep him locked down by Vayne.
Yeah, this is where the Edward would have been really nice. That was a Renoa in Vasso's hand there. It'll be interesting to see if that Renoa does get played, because that could open up the can of worms entirely.
It's very easy to get around Renoa in ice by keeping her dulled rather than killing her.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know Renoa, when she dies, she dulls all of your opponents forward. So you use her as an aggressive threat, so that you're not really wanting to block her for fear of opening up your board to everything else.
Yeah.
Or you could keep her as a blocker. But I think in this particular matchup, I think she's primarily an aggressive card.
Yeah, she's going to be aggro because... and this is the good thing about her is she'll attack and you either, like you said, forced to block and have all your stuff dulled, or you're forced to take the damage. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to be taking the damage.
Sarah Kay has come down and chosen to make a discard, and that's a second Vayne that's gone down.
I think that's all I shows me. The Vayne is, at the moment, is doing its job as an AK body. Doesn't need that, but Vass does need to get his Duke Lark down. He hasn't played it both games yet. So again, Alex kind of weathering the early storm of Vass and is seeing through. So you see the 3 CPs. There's his Duke. So that's going to be a huge sigh of relief for Vass now, being able to have his forwards matching Alex's. There's a Castalian Empire Sid, which is probably a very good card to go to the damage as well. And because again, if that was drawn next turn, he could start getting his own set star, his own lockdown, and start putting more discard pressure on.
So we've seen Renoa coming down now. So whether Renoa is used as an offensive play or as something to try and ward Alex off from attacking this turn is an interesting idea. I mean, all it's going to take is for Alex to dull it.
Yeah.
But I think we're saving...
Sid Allstein with Alex has got plenty of cards in hand.
Theo making a joke there. Sid Allstein killing Genesis, but Alex has definitely not got 0 cards in his hand.
So they're going to trade. The Sarah's going to dull. So Alex is now going to have to play forward, or he's going to get hit by the Vayne at least. I think that's the only issue as well. The Renoa is doing nothing, so he's going to freeze the Vayne.
So he's keeping it all up. It's all locked down. Ice's control capability is so powerful, and I think the reason that Ice is so popular is because it does it while it's attacking, so it's kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah. No, I think that was the only issue here. I think he was kind of forced to play the Renoa just as another body, because 2 of his forwards are locked down by Vayne, and now obviously Genesis has locked down the other Vayne. So Vass isn't going to be able to apply any pressure. He needs to play a forward at least, but Alex will just answer that with his huge army of forwards that he's going to be amassing.
The Flans haven't been used as of yet, but I think the reason for that is to try and save it until there's less cards in Alex's hand, so that you can drop the rest, so that your Sid Allsteins are guaranteed to go off. Yeah,
I mean, as we can see, Alex has laid down his hand, so 5 in hand. So yeah, the Flans would really be doing nothing right about now.
Most likely to lock down Vayne.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. Sellers, when it feels you choose a character and you freeze it. The second ability hasn't really been used much this weekend, so when she does damage your opponent, you choose a dull forward and leave it 4,000. But Runic is very, very surprising, as we mentioned before on the stream as well.
Well, the third Flan has come down now, so the possibility to literally just rinse Alex's hand is there. Yeah. But it depends on how, Alex doesn't have to overextend himself right now because he has got a lot on the board. Vayne needs to be removed.
Yeah, Vayne needs to remove.
For Vasto to continue, he needs to remove Vayne.
And the Duke Larg is obviously preventing that because that Vayne is a 9k body and Glacier is only able to go 7k.
Sellers is a good idea to have out on the board right now because now that both players are back on even power again, Genesis and Sellers aren't quite so likely to trade, but I mean a party attack will help.
Yeah. So he's going to block the Sellers, he's going to get rid of the Genesis.
Yeah, Sarah, it makes no sense to kill Sarah at this point.
Genesis is the threat. Sarah is just a weak body. It's probably going to be used in party attacks.
What's the likelihood of a third Genesis turning up?
We've seen it. We've seen it all weekend. As soon as we see one Genesis die, it gets swiftly replaced. Not
quite akin to his character in the game, actually.
Yes. So there is a Sellers in Alex's hand as well. So if needs be, he can just play the Sellers and freeze the Vayne again. And again, now it's a second turn in a row where Basso has had no forwards standing.
I mean, the options that Alex has available to him are very, very large. Like I've spotted a Sid Olstein in his hand. I've spotted a Sellers in his hand. There's a Harley there, which obviously is easy to drop because he's got it. So he's got options.
Yep. Yeah, he's going to freeze the Vayne. So exactly what I said. It's the most simple option to do.
It's the only one not being targeted by his own Vayne.
Yeah. So it locks down all three forwards now. It looks like he's going to be playing something else as well. He's contemplating it.
Having looked in Vasso's hand, I can see a Sid Olstein in his hand. So if Alex plays any more cards, he leaves himself open to Vayne being killed, which would be very bad for him right now.
And that Sid Olstein will be a 10k body.
But the risk and reward factor is something that the game has, in spades quite frequently. So I mean, playing a Jill is not too bad. I think he's left himself with 4 cards in hand. So unless Vasso has something else that can discard a card, he's not going to be able to just play Sid Olstein.
Yeah, that's correct. Unless he draws a Glacier as well, but I don't know if he'd have the CP for it. We'll have to wait. Yeah, that is definitely 4 cards in Alex's hand. So he would need a Glacier
or a Sarah.
Yep. A Sarah would be handy in all honesty because it's another body that Vass can have.
Or a lock.
There's a lock. So it knocks a card out and yeah.
Flan. I think he can still pay for the Sid Olstein.
Yeah, I think he can as well. And
so if he just throws goo at Alex and gets rid of his hand.
Yeah,
it looks like that's what he's going to do.
Let's go to number 1.
1, 2,
yeah. Spain.
3.
That's handy as well.
Some Sid Olstein of his own.
It's a very, very strong.
Drop 2. Sid Olstein, get rid of the Vayne. Yep.
And
so that's a massive swing in Vasso's favour. Huge, because now his Orphan can get back up. His Setzer can get back up. His Sid Olstein is yet another body that has potential.
Let's put it this way: Lock is at 8k, Vayne is at 9k, Setzer's at 8k, Orphan is at 10k, and so is Sid Olstein.
It's a lot to have to answer to.
To match Alex's forward, Sellers is 9k, and Sarah is at 7k. So Alex, realistically, in huge swing of momentum, is now fighting a losing battle. Those 2 forwards aren't going to be enough to save him, so he needs to answer those now. Here comes the party attack.
Another Vayne would do wonders.
Yeah.
If there is another Vayne available, now would be the time to play it.
Most mono ice decks only play 2. I think it's very, very rare that some play 3. And I don't understand why, but I think with mono ice is prevalent, you want to play 3 because of how good Orphan is.
I think the access to Devout and everything, because there are matchups in which Vayne doesn't do very well. So it depends on how much you're wanting to cater to specific matchups. Yeah. I don't think 3 Vayne is where I would go.
Okay, so what you missed there is Sellers is actually on the damage. Dealt Orphan 4k and then he's dealt 7k off the Glacier to actually kill it.
So we're still on a back foot, but a lot less of one than we would have been.
Yeah, and Vayne was frozen off the Glacier as well. So here he comes. So a lock, Setzer and a Sid.
If another Orphan comes down, that could be big trouble.
I think you definitely attack with a lock at this point. Discard a card.
I don't think there's a card to discard.
No, there's Alex's hand underneath our scoreboard. So yeah, that's what he's done.
It's his deck.
It's his deck. Apologies. It's very really close. So that's now Alex in 6 damage.
Like, I'm willing to take a hit. I'm going to say I'm willing to take 2 damage. Sellers might like open somebody up to killing something.
Glacier, okay.
To force the discard of the flan, so to deny those resources.
And he's killed Sarah as well. Very, very strong play by Basser. Alex drawing in was possibly, yep, final 2 cards. Looked like he was scooping, but was just activating everything. And what can Alex do here? Got a Sellers against a single Sellers against a multitude of armies, and there's a Guardian Empire Sid. This is the part where Genesis Avatar comes out of nowhere on board maps. So he does have the Scholar, so he can get a forward back. Which doesn't matter, he's getting.
So he's going for a flan so that he's got a little bit extra resources. Most likely, it's unlikely that he's going to play the flan. It's not going to help him right now.
It's just going to be sleeping.
He's going to get. Oh no, he is going to play the flan.
No, he discarded Renoa, and then I'm confused.
No, well, Renoa being there means that unless Vaso has something to dull Renoa, he can't go in for the kill.
No, that's true.
Excuse me.
I'm just confused. It looked like he discarded Flan for something and then paid free to play the Renoa.
No, I think he played the Flan to discard a Sellers out of his hand.
Oh, okay.
So he's willing to, the Renoa is willing to lose it because he's using Setzer to kill it because he knows that they're going to trade, and so the Sellers stays locked down.
Yeah, the Sellers will get frozen off the Setzer death effect, and there's the
Sarah to get the last card out of the hand, and that's getting rid of a Setzer is never a bad thing.
So Sellers is dull. Alex with another 2 cards in hand, and
can he come back from this?
Well, like I said about previous turn, he does have the Scholar, so he can get like a lock back. He wouldn't be doing much because he doesn't have this Gustavia and Empire Sid. In theory, he could actually get the Renoa back.
Discard Sid from World of Final Fantasy, which we've not seen anything of today. But I think that
that's why I said he's grabbed the Renoa back from the break zone.
Just to play her again. So a Doom Train or a Shiva or a Genesis.
Orphan.
Or an Orphan. Yep. There we go. One apiece.
No, that was exciting.
That was a good game. That was very good.
Really good to watch. Like we said, both players know each other incredibly well.
The flans, all that goo.
Yeah.
Goo flinging everywhere, apparently. And it was doing very well at it.
Yep.
With that final play, triple flan into Sid Olstein is vicious.
And I'm pretty sure Vass rinsed his entire hand to do that as well. So he emptied out his entire hand just to kill one guy. And that Sid Olstein coming down to kill the Vayne is clutch. So it was well worth the high risk to do so. So going into game 3, final game of this match. I kind of don't want it to end. I'm excited. Who do you think's going to win?
I don't like to tell you. I'm not somebody that makes these bets.
I honestly couldn't tell you. The fact that, again, both players know each other very well, the lists are the exact same, I honestly could not tell you. All I know is, we don't know the result of the other top.
All I can tell you is that Mono Ice is going to win.
Yeah.
Mono Ice is going to win. Yeah. So starting with Harley, which is always a good start.
And that looks like a Jugar going to go start. That's a Devour.
It used to be once upon a time that like turn 1 Devout was a very popular play. Nowadays, not so much.
Nowadays, most decks aren't playing Devour. But an interesting note: this is probably one of the first ice decks that isn't playing Mod 13.
Yeah, no, Mod 13 is quite a useful card in some situations, but I think that having the 6 package available, means that having to search for the 13 cards is less important because Orphan isn't needed at all times; it's needed at certain times. So having 3 copies of Orphan, a couple of copies of Sarah, it's you don't have to search for them. So I can understand why it's not being played.
Some people obviously like to play Sid Reigns as well, so being able to search for Sid Reigns, and here comes the Devout, which is the play you.
I was going to say, there you go, throwback play of the day.
Oh no, sorry, it's the scholar. They're
So
very
no,
similar.
it's double Ingus, but it's not. It's not two devouts.
It's Ingus in his job costumes. So how can it would not surprise me knowing that Alex has played Harley that he has the Edward.
Yeah, Edward. There's an Edward.
And
Duke is going down. Okay.
I
don't think that's something he wanted to happen.
No, I think he needs the Gustalian Empire Sid. It wouldn't surprise me.
Waiting to have to discard the other
he
cards.
knows what's happening. He's probably going to have to be discarded. But that's the thing. In that case, which do you discard, the Duke Log or the Empire Sid?
I do think the Duke is the right choice. In order to be able to keep up your pressure, keep your forwards up, keep your hand available, you can get to Duke Log later.
Yeah, Duke Log can always be drawn, but to have that searcher and then being able to get some forwards down on the board is probably the better option to do. Bass. I think he's just holding on to that Gustalian just in case Alex does force him to discard.
And the Flan's come down to get rid of that last card. Overpay for the Flan, but that's not always a bad thing. Double discard. He's rinsed his hand. Alex still has hand available.
Yeah. It's quite funny to know when Flan came out. A lot of people wrote it off like, "What is this blue goop?"
So more discard.
Interesting that he discarded a Glacier as well. I think it might have been the only thing he could have done. Now will it come back to bite him?
It's the only. If he'd only had the two cards in hand and he wanted to have a forward presence, the only option he had was to discard a Doom Train.
It's the only play he could have done, but he might not have been happy with it. And it's the Bane. And play passing over to Alex. There's the
Duke for Devout. So it seems like both of them are quite happy to throw their Dukes in the bin at the moment.
Yeah. Sarah's going to come in and that's moving his deck back over. Gustalian Empire Sid. So that could have been very handy for Alex's next draw. And there is a Duke in. That's fast looking at Alex's break zone.
And a Flan of your own.
Yeah.
The Puddin'. The killer Puddin' is in the house.
Wait for more Flans to come out. That's when it gets interesting. Lock coming down.
No discard from Lock because there aren't any other FF6 characters
that
on
would have been
Alex's
really
side.
good to see with the Gustalian Empire Sid. I think that last turn. If he had drawn it for turn.
He is opening. He's stopping Sarah from instantly just going into attack though. But then the Flan at the then presuming this is at the end of Alex's turn, picking up that little extra CP. Flan is ironically very powerful against Mono Ice because it just allows you to keep your resources up.
That too as well. It also deck fins during your opponent's turn. You get a card out of your deck and then you're able to draw or into your key combo pieces during your turn. So the Flan should be standing right now, I think, unless Alex hasn't officially passed turn. Both players keeping a close eye on each other's break zones as well. So there's
Genesis to take out Lock, which will allow Sarah the chance to get another bit of damage in.
Some Genesis. Ouch.
So it's like the pressure is on for Alex right now, but as we've seen both of these games, one player has literally just flipped the table.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this game. And like I said yesterday, there's been a couple of games during the weekend. There's Kuja where we have seen someone come back from the brink of death. And that's the kinds of games you want. They're the most entertaining games. They're the games we like to commentate for you guys. Having a whitewash is all well and good, but it's not fun.
So passing after the Kuja play.
I mean, a whitewash saves our voices, but it's not fun for you guys. So Kuja 7k, Genesis 7k.
Again, Kuja is an optional choice against Ice because if you can get those attacks going, he's a character that doesn't. He's like Zemus, as I said earlier. He's very slow, but once he's got that momentum going, he just builds and builds and builds and builds, and he pays for himself.
Yeah, I think that's why it's why a lot of people don't like him is the fact that he is slow. But if you can get him rolling, he steamrolls. Again, he's kind of like Zemus. He becomes a target. You don't want him to fester on the field because he then becomes a threat. And the longer he's on the field, the more threatening he becomes.
So Sid from World of Final Fantasy is the first time we've seen that being played all weekend, in fact.
Yeah, because we've seen it being discarded and we've seen it around, but again, it's the first time we've seen played.
Right.
So, sorry.
Go on.
Go on.
Okay, well, Sid, we can bring back any monster from the break zone that costs 2 or less.
Yep.
So in this case, it's going to be Flan. So Flan, obviously, it allows you to discard Flans early, and you can pull them back, and you can still do them, or it can serve as an additional Flan if you're willing to sacrifice the backup to get a card out of your opponent's hand.
He also has the extra ability that he can't be broken. So an interesting note is when Ice Earth was around, people were playing the 3-drop deleter, which was a 9K body, targeting the Sid, and it just lived. A very nasty combo. Yeah, pretty good card.
I like the use of it in this deck as a 4th copy of Flan.
Yeah.
And a more consistent one, because obviously it targets ones in your break zone, so it's easier to pull one back out there.
You're not
because you have all the
extra
options available.
Yes, you're breaking the backup, but it's coming onto the field, and when that backup, Sid's already done its job at that point. You've already accumulated CP off it and stuff like that. And again, with other monsters as well, it gets instant value.
Absolutely. But just playing it safe, playing it cold, but then obviously now Kuja is able to attack. And the Duke Larg is now available.
So Duke Larg is now making all of Alex's forwards 8k. That's an orphan, and Bass is now going to be forced to discard. Jill.
Jill is in this matchup not too worrisome, but having an 8k Kuja coming at you and dulling and freezing Genesis, writing him off, he's going to be able to do that every turn until that card is answered.
Yeah, so what he can also do as well, the next turn Alex is attacking, he can actually choose to dull the Sarah and then freeze the Genesis, so he's then got 2 down and being able to swing for an attack.
And now because of Duke Larg making him 8,000, he's now out of the range of Doom Train.
Out of the range of Doom Train, out of the range of Sarah. Sarah's going to come in and attack anyway. As another Genesis, if you are Bass, you are breathing a huge sigh of relief. Because knowing full well that Alex has only got 1 left.
Alex does not look particularly impressed by this.
No, he does not. And there's Setzer.
Setzer is going to help a lot here against the Kuja because it's kind of a decoy for Kuja's ability.
Yeah.
Because you're going to want to target that because otherwise it's going to return fire and just dull the Kuja in return.
But he will dull, when Kuja attacks, he will dull it because it will become a body to block with. And I can't quite see it. So he's getting the lock, which makes sense because then he can play that next turn. He might have an Empire Seed in hand or ready to play next turn.
Absolutely.
And just hope that Alex doesn't draw any discard. So play passing back over to Alex. And we couldn't tell you how many cards Alex has got in hand right now. But I think the correct play here would be attack with the Kuja, dull the Setzer, and then freeze the Genesis. And swing with the lock. You'll get 2 points.
Unless he, of course, has a Genesis. He has got the 3rd. Now we got Vayne. That's going to take down the Setzer, though.
It's going to take down the Setzer, so he can just choose to pay 1 CP. There's a Duke Larg going to Vasso's damage. And it's
just going to keep the Genesis away from him.
Yeah. So when the Kuja attacks, he's probably just going to freeze the Genesis. It saves him CP as well, but doesn't need to dull anything. And he's forced to discard a Genesis. Yeah, he's freezing the Genesis. And there's an Edward. So
this one's a lot tighter, this game. It's like a lot more compressed. But there's a lot going on in a short space of time.
Yeah, it seems to be as soon as the forward comes down, Alex raises another 2 forwards, and it'll be interesting to see how Vasso deals with that. Sarah's going to be the only forward that stands next turn. But we know he's got the lock. Does he have that look of Vayne in Vasso's hand as well?
Vayne isn't going to do an awful lot right now.
But it's not really even a body because of Alex having Duke Larg.
I think it's important to know here that the fact that Genesis is being locked down by Kuja and various different other effects in the deck means that it's potentially more powerful than outright killing him because you're not able to play another one to go over the top of it and get into play effects.
You lock it down so your opponent can't do anything with it. I think Vass is he's going to have to play the lock, but whether he get the discard off it, I'm not entirely sure.
No, he only has Setzer. He'd need to have another FF6 character, so he'd have to play one before playing lock.
And he also is going to need to play more than one forward because, like we said earlier, Kuja's going to come in swinging. It's going to dull the Sarah.
I think the optimal play here is actually Sellers.
Yeah.
If you can play a Sellers down and lock the Kuja out, that'll at least give you enough time to get. You'll have a body to deal with Locke. You'll have because she can still trade with him despite Duke Log.
Yeah.
And it'll give you the time to get Genesis back up. It'll give you the time to.
So Sarah's coming in for an attack. And do you think he's trying to do that to bait the Broth of Bane so he's got a Glacier in hand?
Potentially Matthias.
Yeah, or that would be even better.
Or Shiva. But we haven't seen Shiva so far today, so I don't think it actually is in either of their decks.
So he's taking the damage, it's an Orphan. So again, Vass is bringing a huge side lead. That's 3 massive powerhouses that Alex has lost to damage.
The other nice thing is that he might not have had anything at all.
Yeah.
He might have just been going, go on, block me, and then if he had, it's a risk worth taking because you'd push that extra damage in.
I think I just saw a Duke Larg in Vass's hand. But again, Vass has to play at least 2 forwards here. At least. Otherwise he's gonna die next turn. Because the Kuja's just gonna come in and dull. If he only plays one, Kuja's gonna dull the only one he's got standing. He's gonna freeze something else, and he's left to just swing for game.
So he's discarding his own Kuja for Vayne.
Yeah.
And then will he discard something else for that lock?
So
He's going to devout the Kuja. Okay.
Okay, it makes sense.
It does make, because now it's like, okay, now I'm matching your board and then some.
Yeah.
Because obviously Genesis and Lock are fairly indistinguishable.
The only issue is Alex does have, and I think he just broke the plan to discard a card out of his hand.
The only issue there is actually Kuja. Because at the end, if Kuja, well, it's Duke Larg and Kuja together. Because if Duke Larg and Kuja is too big for Vasso's Kuja, then Vayne has to be the target to go down.
Yeah.
And then he'll have to just lose Kuja outright to save himself from dying. But if it's going to stop him from dying, he still has quite a large board, and then it diverts the attention to Vayne instead of anyone else like Setzer or Genesis.
Yeah. Now, the question is if Alex can actually dull one of Vass's forwards. 5.
There's an Orphan coming. No, it's a Sid.
He's doing it just for the body. Oh, he's stacking Devout on Sarah. He's got to have a Glacier.
Oh, yeah. Oh. So that's 2 out of the hand. Dull the Kuja. I think that might be enough to kill him.
That will be, yeah.
Because then Kuja will go in. There's still the 1 CP available and Sid will kill it. Yeah, that was a hefty play.
It had to do it, and that's the thing as well, is because Sid Austin goes on the stack and then resolves when it comes off the stack. That's how it works, and that's
the end of the game.
That's Alex winning by the looks of it. Yeah,
and that's it.
Bravo.
That was quite a turn of events.
That was absolutely mental. The fact that he had to do that much work to get that win. So for those who don't know, again, Sid Austin will go on the stack and actually chooses. And on resolution, if your opponent has no cards in hand, it will break. So that's how he worked it. So he then added Devout to the stack to bring back Sarah. Devout then resolves. Sarah comes in the field. Add Sarah to the stack.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Sarah then did this card, and on top of that, he then stacked Glacier to dull Vayne and discard a card out of Vass's hand. So then when the stack resolves, Vass only had 2 cards in hand, which went down to 0. Sid resolves, killing the Vayne, and yeah, that's just murder she wrote.
Absolutely. So it was. So Alex is going on to the finals. So there is a 50-50 chance of Alex being a second time running UK champion. So it'll be very interesting to see where we go with this.
As well.
We don't know what the other matchup is. We know that the match was Ice versus Mono Water.
Yeah, and fun thing to note as well, the person playing the Mono Water actually comes second at the Nationals 2 event last year.
Oh, I see. So it could be a little bit of a little vengeance going on here. Oh, okay.
So it could be very well a very good matchup. Both players are very good at what they are doing.
So we've just got one match left of the weekend, so I hope you guys have been enjoying it. So we just want to say thank you to you guys for tuning in right now. And you know, with our last match, I'm not gonna lie, props to my boy Kuja. He put the work in. And then that's it. So we'll be coming back very, very soon. We do have one more spoiler for you coming up very, very shortly.
It's a legendary.
It's the big one of the weekend.
I will say the artwork on this card is phenomenal.
So Stay tuned, and we will be back very, very soon. We'll see you in a bit.
Take care, guys.
Okay, so we've just been given permission so we can give you guys the last spoiler we have for the weekend, for UK Nationals this weekend over at NEC for UK Games Expo. And it's a legendary, and I'm going to give you a couple of hints before we actually unveil it, just to give you a nice little 20-second gap where you think you might be able to guess what it is, and we'll hold you in anticipation. So you know it's a legendary, it's water.
And it's been running with the theme of other legends this set.
It's FF2. He has been printed before.
I think they know where they're coming from now.
He's a white mage. Oh, I suppose I was going to. Oh, Joe, I was going to give spoilers away for FF2 there. But no, I'm not going to do that. Joel, we're just going to give it to you now. So, you ready for it?
That's Colossus.
What? It's a troll. We don't actually have a spoiler for you today. Okay, no, we're just kidding with you. We're just kidding with you. We are. Sorry, 1 second.
What's being told?
We're just talking about this card. Okay, I was saying, to be fair, we didn't actually see this coming. They're trolling us as much as we're trolling you guys. So we're actually being trolled ourselves.
2-drop, the Fab Tim. It's an EX burst. When the Fab Tim enters the field, you may perform a random deck check, and if you do, remove 3 cards from your opponent's deck.
And then, birthday cake, fair and square, your opponent can no longer draw cards at the beginning of their turn. So this seems fair. So okay, now we have the actual spoiler for you. It was going to happen eventually. We got goofed. We got goofed.
Bravo, guys, bravo.
So we have Minwoo. Now Minwoo is a popular card already. Yeah. It's been doing very, very well, but this is a forward Minwoo. And the first thing I want to say is That artwork.
Yeah, I wasn't lying when I said this artwork.
Yeah, Minwoo's been a very, very popular backup for quite some time, but now this forward, when it comes into play, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, add a summon among them to your hand, and return the other cards to the bottom of your deck in any order. And then when it attacks, you can cast any summon across 4 or less from your hand without paying for it.
Now, immediately that comes to mind is, okay, I am getting a 2-drop 7k body, adding any summon to my hand, and when it attacks, I can pretty much clear the board. You think, what kind of summons can I cast for this? I can cast Exodus, I can cast 4-drop Bahamut, I can cast Odin.
There's a lot of options.
There's a multitude of cards I can cast.
In Water Wind, you could be playing your Chaos Walker of the Wheel combos without actually having to pay wind at all.
Exactly. Cyclops is another one that a lot of people were doing when Legendary Garnet was announced.
Well, I think that Garnet is probably Minwoo's best buddy.
Yeah.
You know, Garnet and Minwoo are like, chalk and cheese. They're going to go together like really, really well.
Yeah.
I can't come up with enough analogies for things to go together really, really well. But I think Minwoo is actually going to be very, very good. And if your deck is more primarily offense-based than defense-based, it's nice to see that you have 2 different options to play Minwoo. You have the backup one, which is still very relevant now, and you have this new forward, which is very, very pushing, very advantage grabbing. But obviously, if you're going to play this Minwoo, you want to be running a fairly hefty number of summons to make sure you actually do get that top ability go off.
This actually pairs quite nicely with the backup we announced yesterday. You think you play the Minwoo, you get a really high cost of summon from your deck. Play the backup, and you're casting that for free.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that. I actually think Water Earth would be quite an interesting shout for it because it's a way to cast Earth to trigger things like Graviton.
Yes.
Without actually having to put any Earth CP into it at all.
I think realistically this card will probably be better off in duo colored decks, not on mono, only because Water doesn't really have many summons that can kind of pressure you. I mean, realistically the only one is Cthulhian.
Yeah, Cuckoo is very, very good coming off of Minwoo, purely because when you attack with it, you drop it and you draw a card.
Yeah.
It's you're just getting tons of advantage.
Yeah, this one is more, you want to press the advantage and you want to clear a forward, clear the way from when you get that point of damage.
So we hope that you enjoyed all of the spoilers that we've given you this weekend. We've had Pain, we've had, I can't remember her name, but an Earth backup that was very, very good from FF11. Then we had Colossus, which is going to do wonders in Lightning and Lightning Wind decks, possibly Lightning Fire as well.
Yeah.
And now we have Minwoo, which has opened up possibilities for summon-based water decks. And then who knows what else we're going to see from Opus 6. We've only got about a month to wait until its release.
Yeah.
There's loads to be excited for. So thanks very much for tuning in to seeing the spoiler. We've just got our finals left to go, and we have been informed that it's another Mono Ice Mirror.
But so we have Alex Hancock versus Peter Sharrow.
Yeah, the two ice decks from the previous 2 rounds we've had to show you guys. So let's see what these Titans could do, hey?
Well, we'll catch you guys in a bit, guys. Take care.
See you soon. Hi there, guys. For the last time this weekend, this is Joe and Lucas for Final Fantasy Trading Card Games United Kingdom National Championship here at the NEC, the UK Games Expo. And it's been quite the weekend, I think, hasn't it?
It's been really good. We've had some amazing matches this weekend. We've had a few upsets with some of the better well-known players in the UK not making it through, and that's been quite the upset, I think. It's
Really?
I say quite the upset. It's been really nice to see some of the lesser-known players come through and kind of smash it out of the park.
I mean, I love it when I love variety, and you will have to excuse me, my voice is starting to go.
I am the exact same. You've seen I've been drinking water on the stream. I thought, I can't do it. My voice is hurting. I had to.
We'll soldier on. But we're just coming up to our final match of the weekend, which is Alex
Hancock versus Peter. So it's a mono ice mirror match. And it's very interesting to note that if Alex wins this, he is a back-to-back national champion.
Second national win.
And we're only on our second national championship.
So he's doing all right by the looks of things. But Peter's been smashing it out of the park as well. Both players playing mono ice. Very, very similar builds.
Yeah, the variants are there.
And we're just about to actually start their match. So we'll just transfer ourselves over to the match. But as I was saying, they're both very, very potent. We've got, massive plays coming from both sides. We had, plays with Genesis, and we had Doom trains going off all over the place in the last round. Sid Olstein doing a lot of work.
We saw it, if you missed it, we saw a stack with Sid Olstein coming down, and then a foul and a Glacier on top of the stack to empty out Alex's opponent's hand.
And then this round, I mean, it's anybody's game, honestly.
So
it's very, very.
The variant on this is Peter has gone very, very heavy on the discard
and very aggressive
on the discard, whereas Alex is he just wants to amass very big boards and kind of control the game through that. I mean, the discard is there, but it's not as heavy as Alex.
I think Alex has invested a little bit more in the dull and freeze mechanics. Like we saw a lot of Kuja in the last game. We saw a lot of Orphan, whereas I think Peter has opted for more like Thaumaturge, Argath, Sarah, it's the two faces of ice facing off against each other.
So we see Shiva being discarded for a Bard. And we do see the Sid Olstein in Peter's hand.
Sid Olstein, probably not the best player right now.
No.
Just, that would be an interesting one. Finals of Nationals, turn one, Sid Olstein, you've got a hand and no forwards. Let's do it.
So play passes over to Alex, and it'll be interesting to see what he goes on about.
I don't believe that Alex is running Shiva.
I don't think he was either.
I don't think he is. I think Peter is running Shiva. He obviously is because he's in his break zone.
Both copies of Shiva.
He's running the
Opus 4 version as well.
Indeed, which I'm really happy to see copies of, because it was one that kind of flew under the radar for a while, but over the course of this weekend we've seen quite a lot of it.
So the Opus 4 Shiva is a 2-drop EX burst. Choose a Dole forward, did it 6k and 1,000 more for each card named Shiva in your break zone. So it was very, very powerful later on when you doled stuff.
So we've got a copy of Sarah on the board, which is going to start and doing what Peter's been doing all weekend, like getting rid of that hand early so it could set the pace.
And Alex just discarded an Orphan.
And I think, to be honest, in this particular matchup, Alex is going to want to get backups down as quickly as possible so that he doesn't suffer from that early game discard as much, so that he can stabilise and then return fire.
I think realistically, Alex has probably got the upper hand in this matchup because he's probably been testing the Mono Ice Mirror for a long time. And I know Peter, at the couple of regionals I attended when he was there, had been playing different decks. So I think, given how this weekend has gone, and Alex has probably played a lot of Mono Ice, Alex may have the upper hand, but again, Peter is no slouch.
So I wouldn't say that either player has an advantage. At the end of the day, they're both here. They're both in the top two seats. There's a reason for that.
So the Jill being discarded. And
so we're going for a Gastalian Sid.
Going for the Sid.
Sid to Setzer, classic plays. Sid to Setzer, Setzer to Sid. It all works.
Because next turn, what he'll do is he'll do one of his backups, play the Setzer, and then what he'll do is search a lock off the Setzer and play the lock off the other backup. He gets 2 forwards off, and it'll then force a discard off of the lock.
I think the safe thing to do here would be just to attack to begin with, I imagine.
There's no point not to.
It's another sit. That's not the worst thing right now.
Again, he would have drawn that and it just would have been instantly discarded for Setzer. Glacier being dropped and
Sellers lock one of those down because that's going to prevent that Setzer lock play
that's going to
from being nearly as
it's not going to be cost effective. Alex isn't going to do it in that turn. He'll probably play the Setzer anyway, but then next turn the lock will come down. He might just use that.
I mean, there's a lot of cards in his hand. He might choose not to play Setzer and play something else.
Possibly.
Might choose to just... I mean, playing more backups is risky.
I've just seen an Edward in Alex's hand. So I don't know if he will play that, but he's then open up to 2 more points of damage next turn if he doesn't play it forward.
Might be saving the for when a Harley comes down.
Yep, so we've seen it all weekend long. Harley reduces the cost of Edward down to 1, so it becomes a 1-drop backup, which discards the card out of your opponent's hand.
No, he's going straight in for it.
The Edwards will discard. Oh. I see. I probably guess why. Pete's only got 2 cards in hand.
So he's playing the waiting game, getting his 5 backups down, and then he's going to return fire.
Yeah, Alex is going to keep his hand size up whilst shrinking Peter's, and Peter did just discard a sit-down steal. For
Duke-Larg.
Overpayment, but realistically, it's not bad.
He still gets the card down at the end of the day.
Yeah, he's going to be taking 2 points of damage. He's got 2 cards in hand. That advantage is then going to help Alex in the long run.
But with only 2 cards in hand and no forwards, he's going to be taking a little bit of pain to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. But again, I think we've said it all weekend. Most of the mono decks, you're not afraid to take a couple of points of damage because you're getting the backups around and double vein.
Ooh, double vein. That could be impactful later.
When both players were giving each other's deck lists, and I overhear them talking, Alex is actually playing 3 vein.
Oh, he's playing 3.
He is actually playing 3 vein.
Oh yes, you can see the 3rd in his break zone actually.
Yes, I did. I completely missed that. That's a little bit bad kind of. Oh, that'd be why he overpaid for the Duke-Larg earlier.
Because he knew he wanted to play Orphan in order to actually get that 5 character effect off.
That is a 10k body. That is scary.
And without the ability to party attack, the aggression kind of has to stop for a bit.
Yeah. So then Alex, I believe, still has the Setzer in hand. So next turn he is very, very able to do the whole Setzer lock combo. Peter's got an Edward of his own.
He also has a Genesis in his hand, which in all honesty is probably the best play for him right now.
Which looks like he's going to go for.
Because you don't want that Orphan attacking if you can help it.
No. Start locking down that lock. He's putting that lock on lockdown. And discards the Zaid, which is we've seen Peter play it earlier, we discussed it. And there's the Genesis.
Zaid is a really cool character that we've just not. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get to see him play this game because Devout can't pull him back. But it is a really cool tech play because it's something that doesn't require like Duke-Larg or anything to really benefit. But right now, it's all about just amassing that board. Both ice plays know the other one has no kind of mass removal.
Yeah.
So you can afford to just play cards.
So Edward went to Alex's damage zone. Here comes the Setzer, and it's going to search the lock, and he's probably going to play that lock.
Play it straight away.
Peter only has 1 card in hand, so 1 to empty it.
And the Duke-Larg is putting in the work, I believe.
So search. Okay, so search Setzer. He must already have the lock in hand.
Either that, or he's just stalling. No, he does have the lock.
Yeah, does have the lock. So discard the last card in Peter's hand. Edward, which is probably a bit of a sigh of relief for Alex, because Peter's then losing a backup and Alex gets to keep his hand. Now that Celes is probably going to get an attack through.
It's difficult because obviously with Setzer being there, you don't want to lose Celes to Setzer and then have to dull and freeze something else as well, because that's going to open you up to Orphan.
The trade is there, and I don't think that he's probably not going to attack. He's got the forward presence, but he lacks the power. If he just drew Duke-Larg for turn, that Duke is coming down ASAP, and then Celes is more powerful than Setzer. Peter just wondering what to do next, because realistically whilst he was very, I think this was the theme of him earlier on when he was up against Pete Chan. He was getting the aggression on early, and then he was kind of going on the back burner. And that seems to be what he's doing now. It looks like Peter's going to go for a party attack. It looked like he was going to pick up the
So Genesis lock. So the chances are that he's probably going to... It's dangerous to play this because obviously the sets are going down. That's going to take out either lock or Genesis and then dull and freeze something else in return. However, he might be goading him into blocking it so that he can play another one.
Yeah, it would not surprise me if he's got another Genesis in hand.
So if he is going to block it, he has to be very careful which one he picks.
He's going to dull and freeze the Sellers. I think he's going to kill the lock. I think the lock is probably the better option. Because, again, what we've seen all weekend long when we've had Ice on the stream is as soon as the Genesis dies, it's immediately replaced.
And well, not only that, but the effect that you get from lock is less impactful currently because he only has Sellers out today, so he can't get the discard.
He wouldn't discard off, so it's the more logical choice.
But with Orphan about to get back up, things could get ugly.
Yeah, so when Orphan will come back up, it's just going to constantly freeze that Genesis. Lock's going to be able to swing. He's probably going to get blocked by the Sarah, realistically, and there's a Thaumaturge.
Well, that's gotten rid of his own Genesis, so that's definitely put in a little bit of work there, and it can throw itself in the way of Orphan.
Yeah, so Thaumaturge is currently at 5k because Alex does only have 2 cards in hand. So Thaumaturge enters the field, your opponent discards a card, and if they have 2 or less cards in their hand, against 4,000 power. So Orphan swing in and frozen the Genesis.
This is the first point of damage that Peter has taken. I believe that is a Bard that has gone over.
So Lock's now attacking. And
I would throw the Thaumaturge in the way of this one.
You're going to chump block. It's blocking with the Sarah.
That also makes sense because it opens up the ability to play another.
Yeah.
Whereas Thaumaturge, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you are correct, it was a Bard. And play passes back over to Peter. So the Sellers and the Genesis are now still dull. Thaumaturge is going to be able to get in the point of damage.
You can get a cheeky bit of damage in if you wanted to, but it is going to open you up to another 2 points yourself.
Yeah. And Alex only does have the 1 card in hand, so he can't really respond with anything. I believe he doesn't play Shiva.
Another Thaumaturge or Sarah could do some nice things here, or Argath.
Yes.
Any discard effect would be good.
Yeah, we have seen Peter play Argath earlier on. Like we said, Peter went very, very aggro on the discard.
Going in with that, and there's a Doom Train that's going over.
Yeah, it would have been really nice, I think, for Alex to have drawn, but you can't. Damage, you can't. There's not a lot you can do with it.
Happy. It looks like he's happy to at least take up a bit of damage. He may have a Shiva in his hand, at which point that could open up a can of worms.
Yeah. So.
Oh.
Okay.
He has a Doom Train in hand.
But is Alex doing anything? Is he? Alex trying to go into battle? Did he pass priority?
Quite possibly.
And he just discarded the Jugog off of Glacier. I think he just don't attack now.
It puts Alex in a predicament because he can't leave himself too open to damage.
Yeah.
And if Lock attacks, it'll kill him.
Yeah, so Alex isn't quite damaged. Here's a Kuja, which we did see a lot of last round. And I think that's 1 in hand still.
Yeah. So it's now passed back to Peter, and he now has all of his forwards available.
Yeah.
But both Kuja and Lock are bigger than Genesis, due to although the Thaumaturge could prove as a party attacker member, because the Thaumaturge is bigger.
Yeah, his Thaumaturge is currently 5k, so that would be a 12k party. So it would force Alex to block. I don't know if he would take the point of damage. No, he wouldn't want to take the point of damage of that party attack because of Genesis discard one kind of card out of his hand.
I would imagine he'd actually throw Lock in the way of that, because having Orphan and Kuja doing the same thing, but you could be dulling and freezing like a little train.
Yeah, exactly.
It's devastating.
Every turn you would swap what you would freeze, and at that point you wouldn't even need to keep dulling something. Right, the Thaumaturge and the Genesis are going to go in for a party.
No, Sellers is going in alone.
I see why, because I think this one is where you take the damage.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. And then Edward's gone over. And if there's a Shiva, That could be it. There is a Shiva.
Alex is
Oh, it
scooping
scoops. Game 1 goes to Peter. Shiva from Opus 3. Still, huge card.
Yeah.
Huge.
Very, very powerful card. Good. For what it does and for the cost it is, it's always a game clincher. Being able to dole 2 forwards for cost 2, mental.
Yeah, I mean the aggression one out there, like the heavy discard. Discard is very powerful in any game.
Yeah.
Discard while building up your own presence at the same time, whether it be Lock, whether it be Thaumaturge, Sarah, Genesis and Lock's attacking patterns, Edward, they all do the similar sort of things. Glacia La Bolas or Doom Train can do discard while doing something else during your opponent's turn. It's just there's a lot that you're losing and you're constantly having to manage your hand, and it's very powerful.
I think the addition to Glacia has obviously boosted Ice's power a lot. Being able to force a discard during your opponent's turn after drawn or something like that is, in my opinion, a little bit busted, but the cost is there. You are paying 3 and you have the option of doing stuff. So it's there, and it does make the stack a little bit more complicated as well, because if you do discard and you choose to make burn a forward or double forward, if they forward removed, the entire stack fizzles.
Very much so.
So you have to be very, very thoughtful in what you do, because if your opponent can respond and remove one of the forwards, you wouldn't be discarding.
Modal cards in any situation. Like we've seen it from Diabolos, we've seen it from Wall. They're all these modal cards that have choices on the things that you can do. The versatility that they open up just is mind-blowing, and it means that you have so many other avenues. You have Swiss Army knives of cards, and Doom Train is another one, and it's just proving its worth.
I mean, Echo is another one. Echo is a very good card to start off with.
So it just looks like we're about to start the game.
Alex is going to go first. I don't know if he's going to.
Looks like he's keeping hold of it.
Yeah, you wouldn't shuffle that hand that much if you were going to mulligan. So
Peter has mulliganed.
Yeah,
Alex has chosen to keep his hand.
So it'll be interesting to see how Alex goes like this.
So he's now amping up the backup count. We're going 2 backups turn 1.
So Peter does have a Thaumaturge in hand. There's a Jill, double Sellers.
So do you capitalise on the fact that he's dropped extra for turn 1 and get rid of that extra card?
I wouldn't.
I don't know. I think it's
mostly because he's got the 2 backups down. You need to kind of keep the tempo. If you play a Thaumaturge, you discard a card out of your opponent's hand, that opponent can still just play a forward next turn and kill your Thaumaturge. Thaumaturge hasn't really done anything.
Oh no, he is going in.
So he's going in.
Argath and Thaumaturge, 2 backups, 2 forwards. So, Alex is top decking already.
Yeah. Depends on what he draws. See what you got.
They can party, they've done their job if they trade with something. As long as Alex is playing literally anything.
That's a big forward.
As long as Alex is literally playing anything,
and he's now got party attacking. Peter can't party attack with those because it would trade with the Sellers. And there's the Genesis.
That one he can.
And there's another Genesis.
Oh,
double Genesis. Oh,
that hurt.
That really did hurt. So Sellers is going to be dull now.
Now with that few cards in hand,
I don't know if Alex can answer that.
Not immediately.
There's a
Flan. Grab a Flan. He needs to pick up cards just to bin them for Genesis, because he knows that if he goes in for him, he could end up losing just off Genesis alone.
This is a position we haven't seen Alex in, I don't think, in a very long time.
Yeah, card there.
Just making sure
that it's.
Yeah,
it's fine. He obviously was using it to search his deck. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, as I was saying, this is a position we haven't seen Alex in a very long time. He's normally been in very dominating. He's
discarding the card just so that he can just.
Yeah, so he's got another backup, so he doesn't have to discard anything when the Genesis swings it.
Exactly.
And then he's ramped the backup. So
this could be very, very. It's going to be over very quickly.
This is going to be like a penultimate turn for Alex.
So Genesis in first. That's a Doom Train. Thaumaturge, Kuja,
I think if Alex,
Scholar.
yeah, I think if Alex can draw an Orphan right now, that is going to be a huge game changer. But it just depends at this point what Peter's doing, because we did see this in his game 1 against Peter.
Orphan can only just be played at all. Ilna Bart taking down Sellers again. He has to play a forward right now.
Actually, yeah, you're correct. Orphan wouldn't be able to be played. He's only got 3. We only have a maximum of 5 CP.
You could use Flarn to search up the third Flarn to pay for it.
Maybe you have to pay 1 search.
Oh!
Yeah,
And that's it. That's it. It's over.
In a blink
He
of
drew
an eye.
the third Flarn, so he couldn't then pay for the Orphan. That was... What a blitz.
Wow.
That was over in a flash. That was over as soon as it begun. So there you have it. Peter Shah is our UK national champion for 2018.
That was... I wasn't expecting... I'll be honest, I was a little...
quick.
I was expecting the match to go on a little bit longer. I wasn't expecting it to be that quick.
So,
damn.
we're going to go and find Peter. I was going to talk to him again because, given when we interviewed him last, he was just going, I'm going to be out in top 4. Apparently, it didn't quite go the way he thought. So, thank you very much, and we will be back very, very shortly. And if you wanted to find a store so that you could go and play Final Fantasy, then check out the link in the chat box below. And I'm going to stop talking quite so much, surely, because my voice is on its way out.
If you want a tutorial to learn how to play the game, check out this link. And we're going to go try and find Peach, get a good interview going.
Now, we'll see you in a very, very short while.
Yeah, take care, guys.
Hi there, guys. So it's just Joe here again. Once again, we've got Peter back here again after a couple of hours, who is our 2018 UK national champion for FFTCG. So,
Calamity!
given a couple of hours ago, you were sitting there telling me, "Oh, I'm not going to make top 4." Didn't quite go to plan, did it?
I'd never give up, man. Never give up. Never give up.
But it was, I mean, that game was intense to watch. Like, that first one was so backwards and forwards, and the second one, you got the early game discards. It was so heavy.
I don't know in the stream, could you see my hand?
We could see little bits of it on occasion, so we could see
game
it, like,
two, sorry.
yeah. So it was like, I believe you had Jill in your opening hand, and then you had Argath
I had
and
Jill,
Thaumaturge.
Argath, Thaumaturge, 2 Celes, and a Genesis.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and I've been opening up like that most of this 2 days. Like, it's been crazy.
I mean, you geared your deck to have a lot of that in there. Like, the Argath came into play.
Yeah.
Sarah's came into play.
Yeah.
The Thaumaturges were running rampant today. And then the Genesis, it was just... Because I think there was a part of it because Alex had obviously dropped 2 backups on the opening turn trying to set up quickly. And you just pushed it, and you was like, right, you're top decking for the rest of the game.
Yeah, he had 2 cards in hand. I was like, oh, those cards are gone. Yeah.
Yeah, you're top decking now for the rest of the game. And then obviously the Genesis came down to counteract. I think it was the Sellers that came down.
He dropped the Sellers.
Dropped Sellers. So it's like,
Genesis,
okay.
I knew, and then I could get 2 early. And he got really unlucky because the damage was 2 Genesis in the damage.
Yeah, that we saw that.
I
We
said to him,
all
I'm so
cringed.
sorry. I said to him, I'm so sorry. When you play Alex Hancock in the final of a national tournament, I said to him, I'm not going to win. I'm going to try the best I can. The guy is an amazing
He's
guy.
a lovely guy.
He's a
Really
really
sweet.
lovely guy. Anyone who's never met him, really lovely guy. And I'm really fortunate to beat him today. Really fortunate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, own it. It's good.
Yeah, national champion.
Exactly,
Right,
yeah.
Calamity.
Because it wasn't. I tell you what. I said to Pete not too long ago. It wasn't that long ago that we were both just sitting in Hatfield Calamity, just having a chill, just chatting.
Mono wins, like
Talking about mono wins, text and stuff like that. And now look at us. It's like that's the thing. But you were telling me earlier that people were kind of telling you like, oh, you should play this way, and you went, do you know what? Nah, I want to play my way.
I would 100% agree with that, guys. Especially in any TCG, but like especially this one, like I wanted to do it my way, 100%. Everyone was telling me play a certain way as this player, play a certain way. Let's do it my way. Let's do it my way, and it worked. Yeah, I wanted to rush my opponent, wanted to force the questions on them, the onus on them all the time. Just discard their hand, causing them constantly to ask questions, the right question. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And the reason I brought it up is because I think it's really important, especially for like all the other players that are out there who are like trying to get into the competitive scene or they feel like they're struggling and stuff like that. It's like taking advice from other players is good.
Always, yeah.
But never ever let people tell you what to do.
Never, no. You've got to be vigilant. You've got to be vigilant because, I've had people here today like, you misplayed. No, I actually have misplayed. I'll be honest with you. You always misplay.
We all do.
But like, it's about, I lost my word. It's
taking all the elements of the game and just translating them into the way that fits you best.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know how you do this all day on the stream, hours and hours. Look, my receding hairline. It's like shining. It's like pinging off here.
Well, it's just one of those things. So hopefully, I want to say thank you for coming on. You're a lovely guy.
Amazing.
You're a lovely guy, and it's like you're so real about it, and it's really fun. It was fun to watch.
It's
fun to talk to.
I wanted to make it fun today.
I
came here to have fun, and the game is so fun. If anyone's starting the game, play it. It's so much fun. I've hours with my friends having fun with this game.
Yeah, no, and that's it. And I think that's the way it is. It's like people have to remember that it's a game, and it's meant to be fun. Don't take it too seriously.
It is meant to be fun.
But learn and adapt.
Yeah.
And you end up like this guy.
with a receding hairline. Yeah, no. But no. It's fantastic.
So we're gonna take a very, very short break, and then we're gonna close off the weekend. We're gonna have a quick chat with you guys, and hope you guys enjoyed it. And that is it for the UK National Championships. So we'll be back with you very, very shortly. Thank you again, Pete. It's been lovely sitting and chill with you.
Team Calamity. Well done. We've done it.
So Thank you very much, man. See you in a bit. Hi there guys, so we just wanted to come back on for a couple of seconds or a minute or two just to say thank you very much for joining us today and yesterday for Final Fantasy TCG UK Nats.
At the NEC Arena?
Yeah, at the NEC Arena, at UK Games Expo. Last time I'll get that out.
My voice hurts. My voice hurts so bad.
I mean, I probably sound like I've smoked 1,000 cigarettes by now.
I won't lie, I've had such a blast doing this with you.
It's been very good fun. Really
It's
fun.
been a really good weekend. Some of the players have been amazing. A lot of them have been so thankful for Square, for Fabian and Tim for helping get this all set up.
I was so pleased for Peter as well. Like, he was so humble.
Yeah.
He really genuinely just loves his game. And I think that is a big thing when it comes to any kind of competitive scene. If you just if you play to play, you'll win.
Yeah.
That is the win right there.
And I know, I don't know if you heard it on the stream, but when he won and the handshake was offered, the entirety of his teammates, like everyone was kind of watching them, they erupted. And I went out there and he was just being bombarded. He was almost bundled by his teammates and they were so happy.
It's very sweet.
And that's just a lovely sight to see.
So yeah, no, I mean, and that's pretty much it now for the rest of the weekend. I'm sure you'll be seeing us again fairly soon.
Yep, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. And then that's it. So we just wanted to say thank you for joining us. We've had a wonderful team supporting us today.
Yeah.
We want to say thank you to all the judges, all of the demo team that we've had here today, all of the viewers that we've had watching us, and then all of the players, obviously, as well. Because without the players, the game wouldn't exist.
Yeah, so just to note, Peter ends up going to Worlds. The rest of the top 8 go to Euros. So we'll see those players at Euros anyway. Don't forget that the Spring Cups are now last chance. I think the
Euros
Grand Opens.
Yeah, the Grand Open.
So the top 6 of each of the Grand Opens will qualify for Euros. So Euros is going to be a big event.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely
going to be fun. So it might not be us, it might be, but tune into that stream when we get more details, and we'll see you sometime soon, guys.
Yeah. So
take care.
My name is Joe.
I'm Lucas.
And it's been lovely having you guys, so thank you very much for watching. We'll see you
care,
guys soon. Bye now.